Okay. Okay.
He decided to move out, opting to live with his grandfather and aunt instead. And with his family now broken up, it seemed that his trajectory would only get worse from here on out. Despite the shakeup, Nathan persevered with his education, and in the autumn of 2023, he enrolled at the University of Greenwich, where he switched from a physical education degree to criminology. While there, he seemed to be academically engaged.
Broadcast started.
Saying
Let's
that,
go.
his behavior did also seem to start raising eyebrows. Many lecturers recall him asking unusually detailed questions about strange things like forensic procedures, investigative loopholes, and how suspects avoid being traced. One tutor would even joke, "You're not planning a murder now, are you?" Yeah, I bet he regrets that comment now. But beneath the humor,
Damn.
there was something rather
Oh
unsettling.
shit.
You see, Nathan had been doing extensive research in not only how to carry out, but also conceal a violent crime. It was no longer just an interest of his, it was a desire. And all of this began to look more like a preparation than anything else. Only a few months later, in February of 2024, and only halfway through his first year, Nathan then became the subject of a formal stalking complaint. The details were never made public.
That's a
However,
good idea
it
to
was
sleep.
serious enough for the police to launch their own investigation on him. And this wasn't the first time his behavior had concerned people either. Some who knew him described him as smart but intense, aware but isolated, and, at times, even unnerving. By the way, for the sake of mental health and psychology in true crime, it is worth noting here that, although no formal health diagnosis was identified in Nathan, psychological assessments did note there were features of autistic spectrum disorder. It is also extremely essential to recognize here that ASD does not inherently lead to violent behavior, but these traits may explain why he was rather unsociable with other people. Either way, Nathan had already made his mind up. He wanted to murder someone and was confident that he could even get away with it too. By the early months of 2024, Nathan began his
I like being
research
tired
into
at work.
Bournemouth,
Is that
more
crazy?
specifically the Westcliff area. And you could say that his searches were not so much about hotels or tourist hotspots. They were more targeted. His research was quite suspicious actually, and he pulled up maps of the promenade, looked at areas where there were less surveillance cameras, and even googled if it was harder to run on sand or pebbles. And if that wasn't strange enough already, he would also look for hotels that were near the beach but didn't have any surveillance cameras, and would even browse forums looking for blind spots. He would also make rather specific searches, googling things like how long does surveillance footage last on a camera, and how to move without being seen by a camera. And the most chilling question of them all, why is it harder to catch a killer if he does it in another town? In the weeks that followed, Nathan made several quiet trips from Croydon down to Bournemouth. He would book a room and stay a night or two, spending most of his evenings walking up and down the promenade alone. If that wasn't strange enough already, he would spend most of his time there just watching, observing, and calculating. And every time he visited Bournemouth, he would head home without telling anyone where he had been.
Is there
And in
any
late May of
stories or reasons behind
2024,
this?
he would book what would be his final trip down to Bournemouth. So, let's walk through the timeline. On the morning of Tuesday, the 21st of May, 2024, it was just a regular day in Croydon. But for Nathan Sardi, it marked the beginning of something far more sinister. With a backpack over his shoulder and a train ticket in his hand, he boarded a train down to Bournemouth.
He's a demon, bro. Oh my god.
Booked 4 nights at a travel lodge under his real name. He arrived in Bournemouth beneath grey skies, and over the next 3 days, surveillance cameras along the promenade in Westcliff and the lower gardens would quietly follow him around. No one noticed him back then, but of course they would later. These cameras would record him walking on purpose, sometimes stopping, sometimes pacing, but always alone. Other surveillance footage would show him inspecting beach access paths, observing how crowded certain areas became, and, most notably, mapping out the positions of CCTV cameras. he was seen circling Durley Chine, which, of course, is one of the quieter, more tucked-away parts of the beach. His outfit was always the same: dark clothes, hood up, and head down. And although this outfit was rather ominous-looking, he didn't raise any alarm. But he wasn't exactly invisible either. On the evening of May the 22nd, Nason traveled to local
your boyfriend is
where
on.
he then purchased a ticket for The Strangers Chapter 1. For those of you who don't know, it's a
Lux
reboot
isn't
of a
even
cult
on to
horror
celebrate.
film where masked attackers carry out senseless killings. In hindsight, this is a very chilling detail. It's kind of like he watched this film for motivation. And then, only 2 days later, on Friday,
And then he
24th
went through with it.
he would carry out the unthinkable. It was shortly before sunset that he would leave his hotel.
He's
and
fully
then head
blacked out.
towards the promenade. In this surveillance clip, you can see him once again walking alone, heading west towards the darker, quieter edge of the beach. On that very night, and only a mere few meters away, Amy Gray and Leanne Miles were sitting by a small fire on Durley Chine Beach. It was peaceful.
What's wrong with this guy?
And the cove was quiet at night. They were laughing, talking,
This guy is such a
and
loser.
enjoying the sound of waves. But unbeknownst to them at the time,
Loser.
Nason was watching from the shadows. Nason was silent and there was no warning. He approached them quietly and then he attacked. As we already know, he lunged first at Leanne, stabbing her multiple times in
What
the
the
process.
fuck?
Witnessing it all, Amy tried to fight him off. She shouted and pushed Nason as she tried to protect her friend. But tragically, that made her his next target. That is when he turned on Amy and stabbed her 10 times in the process, which, as we know, one of those wounds piercing her heart. Despite everything, Leanne scrambled to the promenade and then called 999. Her voice, barely coherent, was soaked in panic and pain. Emergency services rushed to the scene, but sadly, it was too late for Amy.
What the fuck? They were just out chilling.
And although Leanne would ultimately survive, she was in terrible condition. And as for Nason Sadi, well, for now, he had vanished. What we would later find out through surveillance footage is that Nason walked away from the crime scene in the same direction he had arrived.
Oh man.
He then got rid of his clothes, discarded the knife, and kept quiet. The following morning, he travelled back to Croydon via train as if nothing had happened. But, of course, the town he had left behind was now reeling in shock. It was only 4 days later, on May the 28th, 2024, that at approximately 8 PM, officers would arrive at Nason's semi-detached residence in Purley, South London. And this body cam footage captures the very moment he was arrested.
On your head! Walk down the stairs! Slowly! Keep walking! Keep walking! Stop! Turn around! Walk backwards! Hang your head! Walk backwards towards my voice! Walk backwards! Keep walking! Keep walking! Bring him out. Out! Come out! Get on your knees! Down your knees! Down your knees! Look at me! Stay there. Do not move. Explain all of it. I see you're under arrest on suspicion of murder.
As you can see, they detained him without any incident, and Nason went down with compliance and cooperation. He was then informed of his arrest on suspicion of murder and attempted murder, before then being transported to a South London police station, where extensive questioning would begin. Later on, detectives would find several knives in his bedroom, some of which seemed to be concealed behind a wall and a wardrobe. In addition to this, they would also find some self-defense spray. After linking Nason to the crime and then arresting him, detectives then turned their attention to his digital footprint. Now, although he refused to give officers the passcode to his phone, that didn't stop them, because basically he'd shared all of his information between his devices, and so after looking at his computer, well, yeah, what they found was very disturbing. And he was incredibly not subtle either. I mean, honestly, he may as well have just Googled how to murder someone on Bournemouth Beach and get away with it.
Exactly.
I mean, let's just break this down for a second, okay?
Yeah,
He
she
booked
just
a hotel
everyone
under
can
his
see where
name,
you left.
used his credit card under his name, and then made dozens of suspicious Google searches. And didn't clear his browser history. And let's not forget here, but he was so obvious with his questions to his lecturers that some of them even joked if he was planning a murder. So, was this really a calculated attempt at the perfect crime? Or was this more an attempt at being the perfect idiot suspect?
Maybe.
You decide. Anyway, once the police had all of this information, they began to layer everything together. They overlaid his movements through surveillance cameras alongside the timeline of the 999 call and the path that Leanne took as she ran for help. Combine that with the forensic evidence and the data available, and detectives were then able to build a precise timeline, one that placed Nason at the scene of the murder exactly when it happened, and even caught him slipping away in the hours that followed. During the interrogations, Nason denied any involvement whatsoever, and although he did acknowledge being in Bournemouth at the time, he claimed to have had no recollection of the events in question. He would also try to suggest that he had been wrongly accused here and had blacked out from alcohol.
From the start, we've said this is about us getting answers, finding the truth. Yeah? There's lots of things here that indicate that you are the person responsible.
And I'm not responsible.
Okay.
And I have no reason to attack someone for no reason.
Is there something else going on that will be an explanation as to what's then happened?
No comment.
Your interests?
That's related to my university.
Your views towards females?
No comment.
What? No comment.
So now I think we are getting to the point where, do you think there's anything we've not talked about or asked you about
Yes.
that's important that you need to tell us?
I'm just saying I'm wrongly accused of mistaken identity.
Okay.
And mistakes can happen. And I'm just not responsible.
Okay. Is there anything you think we haven't understood?
I think just because someone is wearing the same clothes is circumstantial.
Are you prepared to tell us things like where the clothing is that you were wearing that night?
No comment.
What we've seen you wearing on the previous nights?
No comment.
The rest of your belongings?
No comment.
Are?
No comment.
And crucially, where you were, because it's a very quick inquiry to confirm where you were, to prove or disprove whether you were the person we're saying has moved on the beach and done this attack.
Well, I left Bournemouth on the 25th on like 9 o'clock.
Yeah, we know that, but we're just trying to establish where you were between 11 and midnight.
No
I think what's preventing you is the fact that, as the evidence shows, you are the male that is responsible for the murder and attempted murder. You were on the beach that night.
Yeah.
But they're
Idiot.
beaches
Shut
are
up.
like popular.
What?
On the CCTV that you showed me, there were many like people walking. It's not just one person.
Is there anything else you can tell us about what else you were doing on the 24th and 25th?
Well, I was back home on the 25th, but I can't remember anything after.
After what?
I got home.
Okay. But yesterday you couldn't remember anything after the beach at Thursday afternoon?
No.
In that case, is there anything from anyone else? Sure there's nothing you want to add or clarify? In that case, it is 16:25. The interview is concluded and we are turning the recorder off.
In addition to this, Nason also admitted to harbouring a keen interest in true crime and forensic methodologies. He also revealed that not only had he been studying criminology, but he had also engaged in extensive research. Psychologically speaking, Nason's demeanour was both cold and detached throughout questioning. He also showed no sign of remorse or emotion, even when officers laid out the horrific details. His answers seemed to be short and clipped, and when things got uncomfortable, he leaned heavily on his right to remain silent. And even still, he would stick to his claim that all of this was a case of mistaken identity.
At least
But based
explain
on
where
his
you were.
surveillance footage,
You fucking
yeah,
idiot.
Sure, Nason, if you say so. After his arrest and his initial interrogation, Nason Sardi was formally charged with the murder of Amy Gray and the attempted murder of Leanne Miles. Over the following weeks, additional hearings were held to deal with the preliminary matters and to set a date for the trial. But even while awaiting trial, Nason would continue to show exactly what kind of person he was. Reports began to surface that, apparently, he had made inappropriate comments to a female officer, not only asking her how much media attention the case was getting, but then even beginning to touch himself in front of her. So, just when you think that he couldn't be even more of a creep, he just has to go and prove you wrong. Moving forward, Nason's trial commenced in December of 2024 at Winchester Crown Court. The prosecution presented extensive evidence, including surveillance footage, witness testimonies, and digital records that demonstrated premeditation and culpability. The court would hear how Nason had conducted extensive research on committing crimes in unfamiliar towns. The investigation would also reveal his misogynistic attitudes, his resentment towards women, and his fascination with knives and weapons. Of course, it would also highlight his obsession with violent crimes and his former stalking allegations. The judge would also go on to comment on his behavior by saying, quote, "It seems that you have felt humiliated and embarrassed by repeated rejections or perceived rejections of any advances you have made, particularly towards girls, which, over time, has resulted in deeply suppressed rage directed towards society and women in particular." Despite the overwhelming evidence available, Nason decided to deny these charges and plead not guilty. However, on December 18, 2024, the jury officially found him guilty of murder and attempted murder. Now, surprisingly, the judge would actually delay his sentencing to allow time for a psychiatric report to be prepared, but ultimately, this would not end in his favour. The assessment would conclude that, although Nason did exhibit traits associated with autism, he was not diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Instead, it highlighted his obsession with violence, a sense of grievance, and his desire to feel ultimately powerful. Now, naturally, the court considered all of these findings before his sentencing, and thankfully, this would do nothing to shave any time off for him. And so, on March the 28th, 2025, the judge sentenced him to life in prison, with a minimum of 39 years behind bars.
Prior to your conviction, you gave no account or explanation for your actions. You made no comment in interview with the police and did not give evidence at your trial, where you were convicted on overwhelming
That's bad looks, bro, because
evidence.
I have no money.
You admitted your guilt for the first time to Dr. Rothenberg, a psychiatrist who has prepared a report at the court's request for your sentence. You clearly should have pleaded guilty to these offences, avoiding the need for Miss Miles and the families of your victims to go through the stress of a trial. Your refusal to do so shows not only a complete lack of remorse, but in my view also that you sought the notoriety you hoped a trial would give you. Even now, you have not told the truth. I reject the account that you gave to Dr. Rothenberg of going to Bournemouth for a holiday, walking late on the promenade because you didn't like crowds, and committing the murder on impulse. As I have said, the clear evidence is that you planned to kill and went to Bournemouth to do so. Nason Sardi, for the murder of Amy Gray, I sentence you to life imprisonment. You will serve a minimum term of 39 years and 64 days. Thereafter, it will be for the parole board to decide when, if ever, you should be released. If you are ever released, you will remain on licence for the rest of your life. For the attempted murder of Leanne Miles, the concurrent sentence is 30 years imprisonment. For the offence of failing to comply with a notice requiring disclosure, the sentence is one of 21 months in concurrent. The total sentence is therefore one of life imprisonment, with a minimum term of 39 years and 64 days. The statutory surcharge can be drawn up in the appropriate amount. Go down.
The loss of Amy Gray has had a profound and lasting impact on her loved ones and completely changed the fabric of their daily lives. For her wife and their young daughter, the world has become an unfamiliar place, one which is now filled with everlasting sorrow. Amy was not only a wife and a mother, but also a vibrant and well-loved figure.
You go for iron into
community.
normal, bro. What do you mean?
Energy, kindness, and unmistakable personality had a way of instantly drawing people in. Her mother, Sharon, reminisced about her daughter's vibrant personality, saying, "Amy was an amazing, funny, kind, and energetic soul. She had a big smile and a loud laugh, and when she entered the room, it filled with laughter, and her presence couldn't be ignored. Since Amy was taken from us, It is like the lights have been dimmed and we cannot get the power to go back up. Alongside her family and friends, Bournemouth responded with both grief and solidarity. The beach where Amy had lost her life quickly became a place of tributes with flowers, candles, and handwritten notes. Locals were shaken by the senselessness of what had happened, and the town mourned together. As for Leanne, her survival is nothing short of remarkable, and despite suffering many stab wounds, she managed to escape and then call emergency services, and that act alone likely saved her. It is noted that both the police and the community praised her strength. But in the courtroom, Leanne decided to make a
I don't know, man.
quiet yet
Normal
powerful
profile
decision,
endgame is dead.
ultimately deciding
That's
to
my
decline
opinion.
to give a victim impact statement.
Good.
This was
That's
on
honest
the
opinion.
basis that she didn't want Nason to gain any insight into her mind or emotions. And what better way
It
to
really
keep
is
him from
dead.
knowing by just merely remaining silent? And as for Nason, well, for what he did, he is now serving a minimum of 39 years behind bars. It is reported that, apparently, he has finally begun to acknowledge his guilt. But even so, many questions still remain about whether he is truly capable of change. During his sentencing, the judge described him as an extremely dangerous young man, and one who is likely to remain a threat for many years to come. And, sadly, the damage has already been done. You see, Nason has to be one of the worst types of killers out there, the kind that just murders for absolutely no reason at all. There was no real motive, he didn't know Amy or Leanne, and there was nothing to gain from this. All he wanted to know was what murder felt like, and that is pure evil. To make matters worse, this kind of story is what stops people, more specifically women, from being out after dark. I mean, all these two were doing was enjoying time together on the beach. It really shouldn't be a problem. He's the kind of guy that I hope never gets out of prison, and quite honestly, I hope he rots behind bars. Anyway, that's my opinion, as nonchalant as it may be, and on that note, what are your thoughts? As always, please share yours in the comments down below. I can see my camera is just about to die, and so on that note, I'm gonna wrap this video up here today. Thank you so much for watching, folks, and as always, I'll see you again very, very soon for another video. Until that moment arrives, though, please do remember to look after yourselves and, of course, each other, and stay safe. Thank you, and goodbye.
Memory of Emmy Gray.
I got as far as the doorway. I didn't.
Yeah, don't go in. This is a murder scene.
What?
Decapitation. It's an ugly
Damn.
spot.
Trudging through fallen leaves,
Damn.
officers approached a
Decapitation.
family's cabin under suspected reports of a headless body. The moment
fuck?
they stepped through the door,
Oh,
officers
nah.
were hit with a scene so brutal, it left even the most seasoned among them stunned into silence. And it became evident to all personnel that whoever she was, this was no accident. The officers attending the property didn't know this yet, but they had just uncovered one of the most horrific crimes that Waller County had ever seen. And after making their way to the main building, well, they would discover several more disturbing details. And then it was up to them to piece together a story filled with rage, jealousy, and unfathomable behavior. Welcome back to Coffee House Crime, folks. My name is Adrian, and today we're looking at a horrific story. One that is known as the case of Jared Dicus or Angie Diaz. And so, with that said, please do grab yourself a coffee and let's caffeinate while we investigate. Welcome back to Texas, land of white skies, bigger personalities, and the kind of history that's carved deep into American folklore. You might know it as cowboy country or the Lone Star State. And let's be honest, when you hear the word Texas, you know exactly what kind of place we're talking about.
Yes, sir.
Because Texas is
Yeehaw!
not just a state, it's a story and a legend. One that is built on horseback and held together by grit and gunpowder. It was once home to a wild and unruly era, one where cowboys roamed free, where saloons stood as gathering grounds, and where outlaws like Jesse James, Billy the Kid, and Butch Cassidy became icons of lawlessness. They hijacked trains, rustled cattle, and disappeared into the dusty plains. leaving behind many tales which were soaked in gunfire and blood. Fast forward to modern times, and Texas still hasn't quite shaken off its dark edge. With some of the highest homicide rates in the country, crime here does tend to cluster around its sprawling cities. And today, we will be heading near one of them. Not Austin, the capital, but Houston, which is Texas' most populated city. A place where steel towers and crime stats are as high as their temperatures. But our story today does not unfold downtown, no. It begins roughly 50 miles northwest of the city, in a quiet corner of Waller County, and in a neighborhood called Oak Hollow.
Bro, we just want some
It's a
cookies,
place
bro.
that
What you
people
want to buy
move
some
to
cookies,
when they
bro?
want to get away from that urban lifestyle. And I mean really away. For example, there is only one store here, and basically not much else. It's peaceful, serene, and tucked far away from the chaos of the city. Which is precisely why, when a frantic 911 call came through on the morning of January the 11th, 2023, reporting a scene that would haunt even the most seasoned of officers, absolutely nobody was prepared for what they were about to find.
Ooh.
Waller County 911.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Rodney Dykes. I need an ambulance and police at so-called Boulevard.
Okay, what's going on?
Ambulance and police.
I don't know everything, but my son's wife is dead. Please,
What?
Okay.
somebody, please.
Damn.
Stay on the phone with
Okay,
me.
are you on location right now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I am. Oh my God.
Okay.
I'm here.
Where is he at?
He's in my house.
Okay, this is
I
your
should
house.
get some. I should get some.
They have a building on my property. Oh my God, please send somebody. Oh my God.
Okay, what is your name, sir?
My name is Rodney.
All information we have right now is
Junior.
owner of the home walked in
This
and
is my
found the
phone.
DOA.
Okay, sir, just calm down. We're getting people en route, okay? And you said,
522, that's the reason it's going to be 206 Oak
okay,
Hollow.
and you said this is who to you now?
She's my daughter-in-law. She's my daughter-in-law.
Okay, it's a female?
Yes.
Okay, how old is she?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you see anything by her, close to her?
I just...
What?
94 Tri-County Fire Department, 94 Tri-County Fire Department.
Okay.
Oh my God, please hurry. There's something wrong with my son. Please hurry.
Okay. I'm getting them in route.
So,
I'm sorry?
Tita, Pumpkin.
He's in my house. He's laying on the floor crying. Please
Okay.
hurry.
Okay.
I'm gonna... Oh my God, I told him in the hospital to keep him. Oh my God, I told him that. They're even gonna keep him. Ma'am, I
Yes,
need
sir.
somebody.
I know they're coming. I promise you, they're coming. Okay, just stay on the phone with me.
Judge, sit down in the chair, son. Get up off your knees and sit down in the chair. Just sit. Help's coming. It's gonna be okay, son. Just stay here.
Oh, I had him in the hospital 2 days ago. He
Damn.
heard voices. I told the doctor to keep him. The doctor said he was fine.
When deputies arrived at the 200th block of Oak Hollow Boulevard, they were met by Rodney Dykes and his wife, an older-looking couple who, at the time, were deeply disturbed by what they had just discovered. They told the officers that earlier that day, their son Jared had returned home, but something seemed off about him. He was more quiet than usual and just generally off-kilter. And as he made his way to the back of the property, which is where he lived with his wife, Angie Diaz, he said something extraordinarily strange. Strange enough to make his parents deeply worried. Now, at first, they just tried to shake these comments off, because maybe Jared was just having a bad day.
Yeah, I don't know what it made
But
it.
as the day dragged
70%.
on, well, those feelings started to nag away in their stomach. And so Rodney, as curious as ever, decided to walk down to their cabin to make sure everything was alright. And it was there, on that stretch of land, that he found something so horrifying that it would stay with him forever. And, well, now you know what that 911 call was all about. When deputies arrived, they were met with a large rural plot of land, with weathered fences, scraps of timber scattered about, and a few dogs trotting freely around the yard. Found at the edge of the property stood a modest wooden structure, which looked more like a hut or a cabin than a home. You can see it quite clearly here in the footage captured from one of the officer's body cameras. And let's just say that what lay inside was worse than anyone could have imagined.
Sergeant.
I got as far as the doorway. I didn't.
Yeah, don't go in. This is a murder scene. Decapitation.
Inside the cabin, the scene that greeted deputies was nothing short
Decapitation
of
is
horrifying.
like
The small
disgusting
wooden
though.
structure,
Like
which
you
was
gotta
barely
be
held
so
together by
gone.
makeshift construction, was
Gotta
a
be
clustered
so
and
gone to
chaotic
do
living
that.
space.
Like
The
so
walls were
long gone, bro.
unfinished, with exposed timber in some
Holy
places, and
fuck.
no insulation or drywall in sight. An old air conditioning unit jutted out from a sheet of chipboard, and in the corner sat a grubby mattress perched on a crude improvised bed frame. But it wasn't only the fact that the cabin was crudely built, because on the inside it was an absolute mess too. Clothes littered the floor, discarded food containers and rubbish were strewn everywhere, and piles of junk were stacked haphazardly alongside the walls. It was the kind of place that looked like it had never known comfort, only survival. But still, none of that compared to what really drew the officers' attention, because what they found inside.
Wait, what's the
was a
upgrade
blood
price
bath.
of
Tiny
epic
droplets of
torrential
blood
to legendary?
spattered across the timber walls, suggesting a violent, frenzied attack. In addition to
Universe,
this,
bro.
the floor was smeared with dark, sticky stains, and found across the boards bloody footprints tracked through the room. Lying beside the bed and almost swallowed by the shadows of the cabin lay the body of a young woman, and tragically, she seemed to be missing her head. And of course, it wouldn't take long for officers to confirm what they had long feared. It was the body of 21-year-old Angie Diaz. Of course, the next big question on their minds was, who precisely were these two? While one was now quite obviously dead, the other was uncontrollably sobbing only a few steps away in his parents' home. Well, to better understand the violent murder of Angie Diaz and the horrific spiral beforehand, we must first go to the beginning of their story. And so on that note, you better buckle up, folks, because this one, it is definitely an intense case. We begin our story in early of 2022, when Angie and Jared would first cross paths. The way they met was both casual and unremarkable, at least to begin with. Trying to make ends meet, Angie worked at the local grocery store named Cheap's Meat Market. At the time, Jared was a regular face there, and in a rural town like Oak Hollow, where there's only one store for miles and miles, running into your neighbors is kind of inevitable. Now, Angie was only 20 years old, but even in a town filled with hard-working folk, she stood out quite clearly. She was bright, charismatic, and full of feminine charm. The kind of person whose smile would stick with you after you've left the checkout line. Now, Angie has quite the interesting backstory, and that's because she had only recently arrived in the United States from Nicaragua. In the early days, she was staying with her aunt who, by coincidence or fate, would happen to live on the very same street as the Dykers family. Like many immigrants, Angie had come here with a purpose. She would often work 2 jobs at the time. Not out of
Bro,
ambition,
why is he
but
still talking about
necessity
evil?
instead, because her goal was to help send money back home to help pay for her mother's cancer treatment. Now, despite having 2 jobs, Angie would still find plenty of time for herself, which was especially pertinent in her fitness, a personal passion that she would often share through uplifting workout videos online.
What is happening
She
with this
encouraged
guy
other
and his
people
evil
to join
shit?
her, tracked her journey, and kept a kind of digital diary that was brimming with motivation and positivity. And somewhere along the way, Jared noticed. Being roughly the same age as Angie, what roughly started as a small talk between a customer and a cashier would slowly grow into something more. The two began to date, and according to those close to them, their romance seemed to move pretty quickly too. At least faster than anyone else expected. That is likely because Jared was absolutely enamored by her, and friends and family would say that she seemed to bring sunshine into his life. She was bubbly and joyful, and he was drawn to her optimism. And in turn, she seemed to brighten whenever he was nearby. Their engagement was incredibly fast though, and by October of that very same year, only several months after they met, the two got married. Their marriage was a simple courthouse wedding, and the vicar mentioned that there was nothing unusual about the couple. He thought that they were young, in love, and just eager to start their simple lives together. It was shortly after the wedding that Angie moved into the small wooden cabin which was found behind the Dykes family home. As you've already seen, it was a small structure nestled at the edge of the property on Oak Hollow Boulevard. It was humble and secluded, and now it was home too. However, sadly, soon after the move, things began to change. Now, Angie may not have known this at the time, but behind closed doors, Jared had actually been wrestling with substance abuse issues. Both drugs and alcohol were already a large part of his lifestyle.
Why?
Unfortunately, this would only get worse over time. In fact, only 1 month after their wedding, in November of 2022, he was arrested for driving while intoxicated, and it wasn't just the DWI. According to police records, Jared's behavior while at the jail was volatile. He apparently threatened officers, punched walls and windows, and became so unmanageable that he even had to be restrained in a safety chair. So, it's safe to say that his anger wasn't only loud, it was dangerous too, and this is a very important thing to remember when moving forward. Although that particular incident did not involve Angie directly whatsoever, those around her noticed a shift shortly after. The once cheerful woman began to arrive late to work, and her bright energy seemed to be dulled for one reason or another. She would at times share vague concerning comments about Jared to friends and co-workers, but would always stop short of the full details. Many of those who cared for her were left wondering how deep the trouble really ran. I mean, she was still smiling.
Oh, you could have just called me, baby.
You
could have called me, babe.
It was only 2 weeks before her death that Angie posted a photo on Facebook of her and Jared standing in front of their Christmas tree together. You can see from this photo that they looked like any young couple, happily wishing friends and family a Merry Christmas. Jared commented beneath it to say, "Merry Christmas, my beautiful wife." He would even refer to her as his trophy, which some would say is quite the red flag. To many of those scrolling through social media, the two of them looked like a happy couple who were madly in love. However, those who knew her in real life were not so sure anymore. Moving forward, Angie posted several more photos online, not only of her fitness, but also of her and Jared. He would often respond to her posts with heart emojis and affectionate comments, and was very visible online, almost performatively so, kind of like he was maybe trying to prove something to others. And, as we know, in private, something was not quite right. In the weeks leading up to Christmas, Angie's manager Ruth started to notice that her performance had started to slip, and unfortunately, that was an understatement. Ruth wasn't quite sure what was going on for her newest employee, and so she decided that the two needed to chat. It was in that moment that Angie finally broke her silence, and she admitted to Ruth that things were sadly not going too well at home. Ruth was actually surprised with how much Angie had opened up. She would even confess that ever since getting married, Jared seemed like a totally different person. It wasn't just the enthusiasm or the kindness that had changed either, because apparently Jared was becoming increasingly jealous, and this deeply worried Angie. And apparently, as it turns out, the police were not strangers to the Dykes property either, and were more than aware of the growing tension between the two. In fact, deputies had been called out more than several times to the property ever since their marriage, and all of these reports were tied to domestic violence. Now, despite being his victim, Angie deeply loved Jared, and although she was desperately trying to keep the marriage together, he just seemed to spiral further and further out of control. You see, Jared was not seeking help, he was seeking escape instead, and the more that he leaned into drugs and alcohol, the more it seemed to blur the lines between reality, paranoia, and rage. It was only a few days before Angie's death that Jared's mental health seemed to reach some sort of new breaking point. It was at that stage that an overwhelming amount of anxiety seemed to grip him. so much so that he decided to dial 911. Now, in his own kind of weird and twisted way, this was Jared's desperate attempt for a cry for help, because, let's be honest, he quite clearly needed it. However, with so much drama happening between the two, barely anybody took notice.
What the
But
fuck
even
is that?
still, nobody, and I do mean nobody by the way, could have ever predicted with just how violently things were about to spiral.
Waller County 911.
Yes, this is Jared Dykes.
Hello?
Yes.
Waller County, go ahead.
I did a little bit of drugs and I need help.
Damn.
Lord.
Okay. Oak Hollow?
Yes.
Okay, and what's the problem?
I just don't feel well.
Okay, and you said you took drugs?
No, ma'am. I'm completely sorry. I don't know why I called.
Okay. And are you there by yourself? Is there somebody with you?
No, ma'am. My family's here with me.
Oh, your family's with you. Okay. Okay, so you don't.
This should be slush.
Everybody's here.
Okay, but do you need an ambulance or no? Are you good?
I need an ambulance.
I got you. Okay, and how old are you?
I'm 21 years old.
21. Okay. Are there any gates or any animals on your property?
There's dogs.
Okay, can y'all put those up?
Yes, ma'am. They're inside.
Okay, I got you. Okay, Jared, I'm going to have the ambulance on the way, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
So, Jared, was it only a little hit or no drugs at all? Because that's at least what he would claim later on. And it is quite hard to take someone that seriously when they're calling the emergency services erratically not once but twice. It turns out that the ambulance
she
did
needed
not
help.
turn up
I'm
fast
dying
enough for
either.
Jared's liking, and so he would make a second call to them and plead for help yet again.
What?
Waller County 911, what's your emergency?
Yes, this is Jared.
Hi, Mr. Jared. How can I help you?
Yes, I'm at SoCal Boulevard.
Yes, sir. We have EMS en route to you. Are you okay? Did something change?
Yes, ma'am. No, I'm not okay.
Okay, what's going on?
I did some drugs yesterday and I don't feel well. And I didn't do any drugs. I don't know. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I have EMS en route to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Wait, what?
Bye-bye.
What?
The root cause of these emergency calls do seem to boil down to Jared's growing insecurity of his relationship with Angie. Jared felt threatened by her presence online and didn't appreciate her posts, interactions, or the attention that she was receiving. And considering Angie worked in a customer-facing role where she was expected to be friendly and approachable to everyone, regardless of their gender, that friction between her and Jared wasn't occasional, it was constant.
What?
As a result of these things, Jared's mood would swing quite violently.
That's her job,
He'd
bro.
become spiteful, short-tempered, and increasingly aggressive. It was a clear pattern that seemed to be building momentum over time, and unfortunately, as a result, the cracks in their relationship were
Come
widening
on,
by
bro.
the day. And these two phone calls would come only a couple of weeks before another far more chilling one. Because, as we already know, it would then be Jared's own father, Rodney, who would make the horrific emergency call when it was all too late. With the property now sealed off for investigators to look at the crime scene, they began to comb through every single detail
It's like, who
available.
was found dead?
Unfortunately, it was more than evident that she was already dead on arrival, and
Bro,
now all they could
really,
do was
man?
turn their attention to the cabin and all evidence left behind. And after taking a
Did he
closer
kill
look,
her?
they realized just how brutal this story had become.
Really? Didn't? Bro,
So
that's
where's
so
the body?
disgusting.
So,
In there?
Yeah, if you step up on the third ladder, on third step, you can peek your head and you see. I can get any further than that.
Up here?
Yeah.
As we know, the inside of the small cabin was drenched in blood, with stains found on the floors, walls, and furniture. In fact, from the sheer volume of blood alone, detectives immediately ruled out the idea of this being an accident or even a calculated murder. The violence and clumsiness told them that it was something else entirely. It was rage. When she was found, Angie's body was beside the bed, covered in multiple stab wounds, and she had been attacked in what they could only describe as a blind and uncontrollable frenzy. And nearby on the cabin floor, officers would find a bloodied kitchen knife which had been discarded carelessly.
Dumbass.
Soon determined to be the murder weapon.
Oh yeah. So that's just DNA. Hasn't he been to jail already? So
However,
just
there
his
was
DNA.
one crucial thing missing to all of this, and I don't quite know how to put this lightly, but tragically, it was Angie's head, which of course leads me to one other horrific question. Where was it? Now, thankfully, that answer would come soon enough. When officers decided to look through the rest of the cabin, they slowly made their way into the cramped bathroom, and there, at the basin of the shower, they found it. This was a discovery that would stop even the most seasoned of officers in their tracks, because, quite clearly, none of them were prepared to find a human head.
What?
In fact, apparently, most of them needed counseling after this. I mean, put quite bluntly, the entire crime scene was horrific, and would tell a horrible story filled with violence, rage, chaos, and absolute terror. So, I'm not surprised.
Blake said her head is somewhere else in the tub. Okay.
Huh?
Okay.
I wait to see. I need to get here.
Okay. Stay right here, Earl. Nobody goes in there. Hello, ma'am. I'm Deputy Lewis. I think I've talked to you at the door here a while back about maybe some dogs or something. No, your son's truck. Could I get your name, please, ma'am?
Lynn, Terry Lynn. He told me it happened this morning.
Who told you?
Jared.
Okay. Where's Jared?
He's been acting really strange lately. He called an ambulance on himself the other night and said he was on drugs, but I don't believe that he was. I think something's wrong.
Okay. Mr. Dacus? Randy Lewis, you remember me?
Oh, I know you.
Okay. I just need to get a little, I'm basically just identifying folks here.
Yes, sir.
Could I get you got your ID handy, or if you don't, you can just tell me. First full name?
Rodney.
Oh, come on.
With a G?
Yes, sir. G-E-N-E.
Dicus?
D-I-C-U-S.
And your date of birth?
Junior.
Junior.
Is that J.R.?
Yes, sir. Do you know these folks, Judge? Okay.
Oh. Yeah.
Wayne, can we visit for a second? I got a question when you got time.
Yes, sir. Stay right there. Yes, sir.
Miss Angie, do you know what her last name was before she and your brother got married?
What's Angie's last name? Do you know?
Sure.
Her maiden last name. I don't know.
Okay. How about a date of birth?
Here's her phone.
So, no fingerprints on it. Anyways, you know. So, anyways.
That's all you know about her?
Yeah, I just know she worked over there. I know she was not here.
Where'd she work?
Chepis Meat Market.
The Cheppies?
That's where they met, yeah. I know she's here, you know.
Did she still work at Cheppies?
Yeah, yeah. I know she's not really a legal citizen, you know. I'm just saying.
I don't care.
No, I don't care either. I mean,
okay.
She's family, man.
Okay.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. They said that the deceased lady and old boy that's in the back seat of Dion's car got married last September. Mm-hmm. And all they know is her name is Angie, A-N-G-G-Y. But she works at Cheppies, or worked at Cheppies. So if she doesn't have any, I'm thinking, we ain't gone in there. Hopefully she's got there's some ID in there, but they could ID her if there's nothing in there.
Mm-hmm.
Jared. Randy Lewis, you remember me?
Yes, sir.
You okay? Yes. Jared, would you mind giving me the passcode to your phone? It's supposed to be a 6-digit code. Any more to it? and that'll open it up. It's not set or nothing like that. Just okay. Thank you.
After carrying out one of the most gruesome acts imaginable, Jared did not run or hide. Instead, he walked a few yards to his parents' home, collapsed on the floor, and cried. It was here that Waller County deputies officially placed Jared under arrest, obviously under suspicion of murdering his wife, Angie. He was then
Well, we
taken
know
into
he's guilty,
custody
but
alongside his family.
why?
All of them were then transported to the station for
You look
questioning.
so
And as
happy so
detectives began
recently.
the grim task of piecing together what precisely happened inside that cabin, they would discover new details which only seemed to deepen the horror. Determining the timeline in this case would become absolutely crucial. They eventually calculated that Angie must have been killed the day before Rodney made that harrowing discovery, which of course begged the
Yo,
question,
looks.
what did Jared do in the hours that followed?
And I don't know if I told y'all, but Mama, when I was just
Did you
visiting
see?
with Mama,
Your
she
boyfriend
said,
is online.
Jared told me this happened this morning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, if he's been in the house since 12:30, then he probably, they said they got home at like 4 a.m. So from 4 a.m. to 12:30 is our window when this happened.
Well, in a community as small as Oak Hollow, it doesn't take long for word or suspicion to spread around. People notice things and people talk, and it didn't take long for investigators to hear from staff at Cheap's Meat.
Wait, how long have you
Market,
guys
which
been
was the
dating
very
for?
store where Angie had worked, that they had actually seen Jared the following morning at around 11:40 a.m., which would have been hours after her murder. So you may be wondering, what precisely was
Wait,
he
now
doing
that I
here?
think about it,
Was
bro,
he maybe trying to like
I
give himself an
leveled
alibi, or
all
maybe
these
buy
baby
some
Yeti
cleaning
pets
supplies?
for net
Well,
worth
the
boost.
answer was
And
actually
how
neither.
much is one worth right
Surveillance
now?
footage
Oh
paints
my
a
god.
very different picture, one that's disturbingly casual.
Oh
Jared,
no.
dressed in a t-shirt and jeans, is seen strolling into the store, walking up to the fridge, and then pulling out a beer. He then walks right out of the shop without paying. Outside, another camera catches him standing by his
What?
car. He then cracks open the can, takes a long drink, and then casually gets back into his vehicle and drives off. There is no panic or urgency seen here, just a man drinking a beer in the morning sun. Of course, after, you know, committing one of the most gruesome murders that this town has ever seen. After being arrested, he confessed almost immediately. There was no lengthy interrogation, no drawn-out denials, and no hesitation to admitting that he had murdered his wife. Of course, this left very little doubt in the minds of the investigators. But to be honest with you, it wasn't exactly a mystery anyway, was it? Even without his confession, all the evidence available was confined and found in that tiny little cabin. Everything seemed to fit together like one of those easy 10-piece puzzles for children. And Jared
It doesn't really make a difference.
Run from the law or deny his guilt. Now, obviously, during the investigation, detectives were hard at work trying to find a motive. But officially, we aren't actually sure what that was. There are some people that believe that apparently Angie rejected his sexual advances that evening, which sent Jared into an uncontrollable rage. But on the other side of the coin, there were people that were actually supporting Jared and said that he was never the violent type. But in a story like this, we must follow the facts, and the facts tell a very clear story. And it's opinions like those that do make you wonder, do any of us really know our neighbours? What we do know is that before Angie's death, officers had already attended the property on numerous occasions, and all of these were centered around domestic violence. And so, whether Jared was under the influence of drugs
We
or
do
alcohol
revs
or
during
not,
it.
it doesn't actually
You
matter.
do revs,
The
not
truth
me.
is, he had a violent side. Moving to the legal proceedings of this case, Jared's bond was initially set at $500,000, which is a hefty sum by any standard. But considering the brutality of the crime and his violent history, it wasn't long for prosecutors to push for more. An attorney stepped in, arguing that $500,000 simply was not enough. Not for a man who had literally decapitated his wife in a fit of
Revs is all
rage.
you, baby.
And so, given the sheer brutality of the crime scene, it
I
was
might need a
officially raised to
purple
$1
loan.
million. Naturally, This all led prosecutors to
Okay,
question
I'll do it
Jared's
if you
mental
collect
state.
the Clover
For
helmets.
example, was this the direct result of a mental breakdown or psychotic snap? Or did his true colors just finally come out? After a court-ordered psychiatric evaluation, psychologists would unanimously rule that Jared was of sound mind. It is clear through his remorse and reactions that he understood what he had done. He fully understood what was coming next. And so, it was for that reason alone that he was declared fit to stand trial.
Tonight, a 21-year-old man has admitted to authorities that he decapitated his wife.
The disturbing murder happening yesterday near Magnolia. The woman's body was found inside a home on Oak Hollow Boulevard. Fox 26's Matthew Seedorf is in Waller County tonight, where the community is mourning. Matt.
There's a growing memorial tonight outside of Chepe's where this victim worked. Tonight you can
So yeah, give me the Clover helmet and then maybe you can get along.
This woman loved in this community.
By now, the word of Angie's murder had spread well beyond Waller County, and this quiet rural community that once prided itself on peace and privacy was now the center of a gruesome national headline. The local community and people further afar were all shocked, horrified, and paying close attention to every legal update. And that wasn't only your every day-to-day citizen either. For example, even the judge who had officiated their marriage only 4 months earlier was in utter disbelief. But while the prosecution was busy building their case, something rather unexpected happened. And that is, in a moment of surprise,
Bro,
Jared
what the
officially
fuck is
accepted the
CS7?
deal. He had chosen not to hire a defense attorney, instead opting to represent himself. And through that plea agreement, he decided to waive everything, including his right to appeal the verdict, his sentence, and even any potential defense that might have been raised on his behalf. In response, Angie's family would give their blessing for the deal to proceed. And so, without a lawyer, without a defense, and without a single appeal in his back pocket, he officially made his plea of guilty to the murder of his wife. On July the 31st, 2024, the judge delivered the final sentence. Jared was sentenced to 40 years behind bars, and furthermore would not be eligible for parole until the year 2043. That means that if he serves his full term, he won't be walking free until he's 63 years old. Now, they say that you only live once, and, well, for his crimes, he'll be spending most of it thinking about the irreversible pain he has caused, both to Angie and to everyone who loved her. Now, of course, with tragedies like this, we are left with not only heartbreak, but many questions. Questions like, how did it get this far? And what could have been done to stop it? And in this case, the spotlight turned towards a deeply rooted issue, not only in the United States alone, but the rest of the world. And of course, I'm talking about...
I don't know the price of CS5 or CS7 or whatever you're trying to tell me right now.
Of not being able to afford her funeral. Of course, money was already tight to begin with. That was the entire reason Angie was in the US. You know, it's very sad to realize that Angie had been working 2 jobs to try to pay for her mother's cancer treatment. And now, in some sick twist of fate, all of that hard work had been undone to pay for her own funeral costs. In response, a GoFundMe campaign was launched by the public, which would in turn raise over $20,000 by friends, family, and strangers all moved by her story. The fundraiser described her as the light.
Bro, what the fuck is that?
A small phrase, but one that
die, bitch.
Captures exactly who she was. A candlelight vigil was held
Die, Lux.
at a park
Die,
near her
Lux.
home. People arrived with flowers and handwritten messages, and all lit candles in her memory. Those who knew Angie would say that words could never truly capture the kind of person that she was. She was said to be a very bright young girl who had many goals in life. And a neighbor recalls that no matter what time you walked into the market, and no matter how you were feeling on the day, her smile would seem to just light up the room. It is clear that Angie's death not only broke hearts, but left a lasting scar on an entire community. And if there is any
I'm gonna run out of money though. How do I deal with this?
The man responsible for her death did not get away with it. Jared now faces the full weight of the law, and whether it was guilt, remorse, or simply resignation, he chose not to fight it. He claimed a beautiful life from this world, and in return, he gave up the best years of his own. Now, maybe that's not enough, and maybe it never will be, but for those who loved Angie, there is some peace in knowing that he will never have the chance to hurt anyone else for a very long time. This story has left so much pain behind wherever you look. In fact, just listening to Jared's own father on that 911 call is tragic enough. The man was absolutely broken. The twisted thing is, I don't think Jared even fully understands why he murdered his wife. I mean, his response both before and after the fact remains an enigma. So, will we ever fully understand why
there is actually no reason.
Not so sure anymore. Anyway, I think that
And then also cut the head off?
and opinions.
The
But
fuck?
before I go, I'd love to know what
Decapitation?
you think about this one. To begin with, what do you think about Jared's sentence? Because at the end of the day, he only received 40 years. Do you think this was enough, or should he have received life? And how about the motive? Because to me, this sounds like a horrible mix of alcohol, jealousy, rage, and unchecked emotions. And of course a man who was unable to control any of it. But that's just my take. Anyway, what do you think? As always, let me know in the comments down below. And with that said, I'm going to end this video here today. As always, thank you so much for making it this far, folks. I really do appreciate you. I'll be back again very soon for another video in probably 3 or 4 days, so not too long. In the meantime, please remember to look after yourselves and of course each other. Oh, and stay safe. Thank you, and goodbye.
I really would need to goon. I haven't gooned in like a couple of minutes.
She seemed like the perfect nurse, wife, and mom on the outside. She was intelligent, respected, and trusted by her patients at their most vulnerable time until her husband disappeared without a trace. Days later, pieces of his body began washing up in the Chesapeake Bay, stuffed into suitcases. He'd been shot.
Should I buy DJ3?
With the hopes
DG3?
that he would never be found again. But when investigators
I probably should,
started
right?
the threads, everything led back to one person, known as the suitcase killer. So, what really happened to
DJ3, GG.
How does someone like Melanie go from saving lives to being accused of one of the most calculated and brutal murders in recent history? Welcome to the True Crime Nurse, everybody. My name is Kat.
Hey, True Crime Nurse.
Who loves all things nursing and true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell before you go. All right.
Yeah, how do I get?
So grab a snack and sit back because it's going to be a wild one. William Theodore McGuire, also
It has to be worth it, right? The
was
Divine
born
Gift
on
has to be worth it.
September 21st,
There's no way it
1964
isn't.
In Bronx, New York, to William and Ruth McGuire. He grew up moving around quite a bit, so when he decided to enlist in the United States Navy, moving around was pretty easy for him. He signed up right after high school and worked in the Navy as an electronics technician. Bill was stationed in Virginia Beach, and it was in that coastal city, surrounded by sailors and the busy town, that he would meet his first wife, named Marcy Polk. I am going to touch on their relationship a little bit just because it does relate to today's case. Bill and Marcy got married in 1986, and at first their life together seemed really happy, but then Bill began gambling and drinking heavily. Marcy told her family and friends that the man that she married back in Virginia did not seem to be the same man anymore once they moved to New Jersey. Their relationship deteriorated pretty quickly, and in 1995, Marcy ended up filing a restraining order against Bill because he'd been throwing rocks through her window. After their divorce was finalized, Bill stayed in New Jersey and found his way into the technology world as a computer programmer and analyst. This was perfect for him given his Navy career background.
Hey, what's
By
up?
the early 2000s, he also landed a position as an
I haven't drank water
at the
today.
New Jersey Institute of Technology in Newark. He taught computer science courses and he managed program analysis work, which earned him a stable and comfortable income. This way of life may not have been extravagant, but it was stable and respectable, and it gave him something that the Navy years never quite had, and that was permanence. Bill McGuire stood about 6 feet 3 inches tall, but according to his family and friends, he was a total teddy bear. His sister Cindy said that he could light up any room he walked into.
With soda?
He was someone who genuinely enjoyed being around other people. He did have some rough edges around here and there, but she said that he was not at all the dangerous type. Bill also went through some financial hardships, so he declared bankruptcy in 1999, allegedly because of his gambling habits. His life was far from perfect, but everyone knew how much he wanted a better and different life. He dreamt of having a family and kids someday, and he was turning over a new leaf. He just needed to find a life partner to grow a family with. Melanie Lynn Slate was born on October 8th, 1972.
Well, I don't know what these emails are.
And Michael Slate. She grew up in Ridgewood and then Middletown Township, New Jersey later on. Melanie went to Middletown High School South, where she graduated in the top 5% of her class in 1990.
Oh, what's that?
So she was very intelligent. She was also a member of the National Honor Society and the Spanish National Honor Society. Even as a teenager, she was driven, high-achieving, and according to her brother,
I see the one licking for some reason. I don't know why you were licking.
Melanie then went to Rutgers University, where she pursued a double major in mathematics and psychology, but she didn't stop there. She graduated in 1994, but then she decided she wanted to change paths and go to nursing school at Charles E. Gregory Nursing School, graduating second in her class in 1997. This goes to show us that she is naturally intelligent because nursing school is incredibly challenging. As a nursing student, she became especially interested in obstetrics and gynecology, and even more so in the field of infertility. That's a specialty that requires an unusual combination of clinical precision and emotional sensitivity because these are patients that are typically in their most vulnerable
I still haven't
state.
had water
Bill
today.
McGuire and Melanie met in 1997.
I love how I
both
dodged
working
that
as
having
servers at a
soda.
restaurant. Bill had picked up this job on the side to make some extra cash, and he was also
Scammed,
known
bitch.
as the rude waiter there. Not exactly something you would want to be known as, but Melanie was drawn to him, and they were attracted to each other pretty quickly mutually. They wanted the same things in life, and they dated for 2 years while Melanie went through nursing school. By 1999, Melanie had become a nurse and found a job at a fertility clinic in Morristown called Reproductive Medical
You know why I
Associates,
haven't
which
modded
was
you,
one
right?
of the largest infertility programs on the East Coast at the time, and it still is pretty large. She got a job there as a nurse coordinator. Her responsibilities were pretty extensive. She assisted with IVF procedures, monitored patient treatments, handled third-party reproduction coordination, including egg donation and surrogacy, and
It's
served as a point of
because
contact to her patients. Her patients
you would
described her as
you would
warm,
just refund
attentive,
yourself
and
channel
capable of
points,
making you feel like you were the only person in the room.
and we can't be
One
doing
patient
that.
named Linda Smith
So
said,
you're just
"She
gonna block me
really
from doing
captured
shit.
you. She captured your heart right away. She just made you feel like you were the most important person in her office." This sounds ideal for a nurse, right? Well, stay tuned. Bill and Melanie got married in West Orange in June of 1999 after she graduated nursing school. Early on in their marriage, according to Melanie, things were great. Their first son
That's
arrived
bro.
in 2000, which
You're
was
just gonna
less than a
claim
year
something with
after their
channel points and
wedding.
then
But
refund
she
to
said
yourself.
that he was such a light, so much so that their marriage got even better. They both had wanted kids so desperately, so having their son gave them everything they ever wanted. The sun rose and set over that child and over Melanie in her own words. Bill was a devoted, enthusiastic, fully committed father and husband. Not too long after their first baby boy, their second son arrived in
Baby
2003.
boy.
The McGuires were a happy, beautiful little family of 4,
Yo,
living
McGuire.
in an apartment in Woodbridge Township, and for a while, that
W
seemed
McGuire,
good
man.
enough. Melanie said that things gradually deteriorated from there, though. Bill's gambling trips to Atlantic City were becoming more frequent, the money was
So you
disappearing,
have infinite.
and the frustration would come home with him, and
You're
he
just
would
gonna abuse
direct
it to
it
get
at
infinite
Melanie. She
redemptions,
said Bill
bro.
was someone who at the time could
You
not
know.
tolerate not getting what he wanted, day traded and gambled, scratched his skin till he literally bled, and talked about someone being in their attic. To her, these were all signs that something was deeply brewing in him and he was beginning to unravel. She claimed that he had threatened to kill her over an argument over a speeding ticket, and that he had become increasingly violent both verbally and physically toward her. Not to say that those things didn't
Yeah, because you're
happen,
saving up.
but
We all
none
know
of
what
those
you're doing.
claims
You're
were
just
ever
saving it up
corroborated by
to
anybody.
block me from doing
No
something.
neighbors ever heard anything alarming coming from their apartment. No friends or colleagues of Melanie's ever described seeing marks on her, and she never told anyone that she trusted she'd been treated this way. His sister Cindy maintained a close relationship with her brother all throughout his adult life and when they were little, and she never witnessed anything violent between them either. Regardless, though, their marriage was falling apart. And one
Wait,
common
that's
theme they
38
see in this
million
space
coins?
is that when a
What the
marriage is in a
fuck?
pressure cooker,
That's
the cracks
38
allow
million?
for distractions to slip
Huh?
in. The third
How is
person
that
we need
38
to talk
million?
about before we get into what happened
Are you
is
fucking
Dr. Bradley
crazy?
Miller. He is a board-certified reproductive endocrinologist.
That's
and a
28
physician that
million?
specializes in fertility and
Isn't that
hormonal
literally
disorders.
more money than a
This
fucking
man was a partner at
overflux?
Reproductive Medicine
Wait, how much
Associates
is
in
the
Morristown, New
overflux?
Jersey,
Wait.
which is the same clinic where Melanie was working as
How
a
much is the
nurse.
overflux?
He trained at Wayne State University School of Medicine, completed a residency at the National Naval Medical Center, and he finished a fellowship in reproductive endocrinology and infertility at the National Institute of Health. He was a highly accomplished physician, and he was also married with 3 children. I'm sure you know where this story is about to go now. The affair between Melanie and
I should
Dr.
add a
Bradley began in
cooldown
the
on
summer of
using it.
2002. Melanie was 38 weeks pregnant with her and Bill's second child when her relationship with Dr. Miller became romantic. What started as a workplace dynamic with a senior physician and a nurse who assisted him slowly evolved into something far more serious and intimate. Dr. Miller bought the 2 of them prepaid cell phones specifically so that they could text and call each other all day, every day, without being caught by their spouses. They spoke multiple
Well, I
times
just
a day,
realized.
every single day. Their conversations were deep and vulnerable, so it was both physical and emotional cheating at this point. Melanie was deeply in
I
love
realized
with
that my
Dr.
magic
Miller,
is low.
but Miller said that he cared about Melanie, but he was clear from the beginning that no matter
Oh,
what, he
cocoon!
would never leave his wife. So, for nearly 3 years, the
I mean,
affair
tier 5
continued
spiders
on.
are actually pretty
Melanie went
profitable,
home to
but
Bill and the boys,
my
and Dr.
profit is
Miller
just
would go
bad
home to his
because,
wife and his children.
yeah, you know
By
why.
the spring of 2004, the McGuire marriage was basically over, not only because of Bill's gambling, but because Melanie's attention was now elsewhere. On the morning of Wednesday, April 28, 2004, Melanie dropped her 2 sons off at daycare at 8:20 in the morning. From there, she did not go directly to work as planned. Instead, she went to
Triple
Walgreens
cool?
Pharmacy in Edison, which is less than a mile from the children's school. At 8:32 in the morning, a prescription was filled in the name of one of Dr. Miller's actual patients. This was a real woman who had appointments at the Morristown Clinic in March and April of 2004. This prescription had been written on a prescription pad that belonged to Dr. Bradley Miller, and the drug prescribed was for chloral hydrate, which is a powerful sedative. This medication is a clear to slightly yellowish colored liquid, and it has a bitter, pungent taste that could be masked by a strong drink. Remember that.
What?
Because it's a sedative, it produces unconsciousness, and it's typically used prior to surgery to calm patients
Yeah,
down.
you're so
But it's also been
skibidi, you're so
combined with alcohol
fanatics.
illegally. The 2 together have what's called a synergistic effect, making the 2 substances mixed together more dangerous and stronger together than they are apart. Let me know if you've heard of this, but apparently this is referred to as a Mickey Finn, where chloral hydrate is intentionally dissolved into an alcoholic beverage, similar to lean being alcohol and cough syrup. I had never heard of a Mickey Finn until I researched this case, so please tell me I'm not the only one that learned this today. Dr.
But
Miller
why is
denied writing this
mosquitoes so
prescription.
much? Isn't
The
that fucking
handwriting expert
insane?
did verify
Isn't
that
that
the
not crazy to
signature
you?
on that prescription
You know
pad
that
was
used to be
not Dr.
literally like a
Miller's, so keep
200,000
that in
coin
mind,
drop,
kid.
right?
The managing partner at
For
the
the
Morristown
longest.
practice said that this was not unusual for the nurses at the clinic to sign Dr. Miller's name to prescriptions, and that Melanie had done so before.
This is a
But
rev-based
he
backpack,
also
right?
said that
Do you have
chloral
a
hydrate
backpack
was a
for
drug that no one at their practice would
spider?
typically prescribe to fertility patients. The patient whose name was on the prescription said that she'd also never requested it, and she'd never visited that Walgreens either. After that pharmacy visit, though, Bill and Melanie closed on a new home in Warren County that very same afternoon. The paperwork was signed. The deal was done. They were officially homeowners now. The house that they'd worked hard for years was finally theirs, and Bill was so happy to be in a home with a yard for his kids. He called the gas company at 5:37 that night to transfer utilities to the new house, and then he called one friend at 5:44 and another friend at 5:59. Both of those calls were to just share the happy news about the house closing and that he was so excited for his little family. But those were the last phone calls that Bill would ever make. According to Melanie, when they returned to the Woodbridge
No,
apartment
no,
that
no,
night,
no.
they got into a
He makes
huge
sassy videos.
explosive
We know this
argument.
guy.
She said that Bill was unhappy with
We
the
know this
house that
guy.
they
We
had
don't need to
just
see this.
closed on, and that he
I
complained
think
that
we're
he
fine.
had settled for it. She said that the argument escalated and that at some point Bill shoved her against the wall, stuffed a dryer sheet in her mouth, and then slapped her. She said that she took one of the boys into the bathroom and locked herself in there for her own protection, and she could hear Bill packing as he raged through the apartment. She said he left sometime
We
that night,
know what that
telling her
is.
that she would never see him again, and this was the last time she heard from her husband. On April 29th, the morning after Bill disappeared, Melanie took both of the boys to daycare, then she met with divorce attorneys. She drove to the courthouse to try to file for a DV restraining order against Bill, but she ended up abandoning that attempt because the courthouse was too crowded that day. That night, she checked into the Red Roof Inn in Edison, paying cash for her room.
I can
and
watch
then she
it, but
drove-
like it's not gonna be important, and it's very unimportant actually. Like nobody cares about this. This is just some gay shit.
Or be extreme.
Be extremely black, be extremely white. Probably be extremely black, to be honest.
Get $1 million right now, and I would recommend to spend the money on black sugar daddies, or save this cute little innocent baby. Oh my God, it's so freaking creepy. Oh.
I will get 1 million right now. Fuck that baby, bro.
Be stranded on an island with this zesty 25-year-old black guy, and he loves playing.
Have a baby with the second person who appears when you click share and then more. Well, it's probably gonna show a girl when I click share. So it's fine.
With coconuts and bananas, or have a baby with the second person who appears when you click share, and then more.
Okay. So I'll do the second option.
Oh, I give up hamburgers and fries. I love extra double stacked black meat, or give up pizza.
Ooh, give a hamburger and fries or give a pizza. Ooh, why are they all black though in all these pictures? Ooh, really good hamburger and fries could be crazy though. But like pizza, bro, you can't live a life without pizza, bro. Let's be honest. You can't really live a life without pizza. I could live without hamburger and fries. Fries can be really good though, bro. But yeah, I have to go with pizza.
Be extremely black, or be extreme.
Hvem av dere er mest interessert i fotball? 2, 1.
Har alle vært sammen?
Ja. Hvem er mest interessert i fotball, gutta?
Nei, det orker jeg ikke.
What is this? What is this?
Du tok det selv. Ja. Det er bra med selvinnsikt, eller?
Ja, ja. Jeg bare ser på Edith.
Hvem av dere kommer til å se mest på fotball i parken i sommer?
Har du lyst til å si alle, liksom? Ja, jeg tror alle.
Åh, det var faktisk veldig koselig.
Hold on.
Er du smartere enn folk flest? 4 av 5 svarer feil på denne gåten, og dette er ikke bare tall jeg henter fra ingen steder. Cirka 80% klarer ikke å løse denne klassiske bryllupsgåten. Hvis du liker gåter, og vi har flere gåter som dette.
Oh my God, we're gonna die.
Ok, førstemann til å finne noe på bokstaven A.
A. Hva er det, Jenny? Finner du noe?
Apple iPhone.
Faen. Ok, neste bokstav. T.
Theodor!
Nei, det er ikke det.
Jo,
Nei.
jeg fant det.
Nei.
Jo.
Noe annet. Takis. Takis. Nei, personen er ikke lov.
Ku.
Ku.
Alright, bro. Yeah, I've never scrolled TikTok before. That was not good. I'm not doing that again.
City. In Atlantic City, surveillance footage from the Flamingo Motel captured an important moment. At 12:40 that morning on April 30th, someone was seen parking Bill McGuire's car in a lot behind the motel. these were spaces that are reserved for employees only that are working in the motel, and the car didn't have the required parking
Well, you know what?
sticker,
I've
which
never
stood out.
actually scrolled
The
TikTok
second
before. That
vehicle
was,
was
was my
visible in
first time
footage,
ever in
and
my
that was
life.
Melanie's car.
That
The
was not
footage was
good.
blurry and grainy,
That was really bad.
so they couldn't officially ID the person that was driving
Stop
Bill's
sending me
car,
TikTok
but
videos.
Melanie later admitted that she moved it herself. Her story was that it was a prank or a way to spite Bill, which is apparently something that the two of them did to each other whenever they were mad. She said that she had taken a cab back from Atlantic City to the Edison area, then took another cab back to go get her own car. I'm sure you're already thinking what I am, though. This story doesn't add up. After she got back from Atlantic City, Melanie went back to the courthouse and she told the judge about the incident with the dryer sheet, about being slapped, and the judge granted her a temporary restraining order against her husband. In the paperwork, though, she was asked if there were any firearms in the home or if Bill owned any weapons, and she answered no. But what she didn't offer up is that she had purchased a .38 caliber revolver just 4 days earlier. After leaving court, Melanie moved out of the Woodbridge apartment and into the new Warren County house. She consulted more attorneys, and on May 25th, she filed for divorce, stating that this marriage was broken by Bill's gambling addiction, his alcohol use,
gambling
erratic
addiction.
behavior like scratching his skin and intruders in the attic, and that his physical violence toward her had escalated. The divorce seemed to eerily mirror what Bill's first wife, Marcy Polk, had filed years earlier too. On the morning of May 5th, 2004, two fishermen and their kids were out near the
Melody
Bridge
enjoy
when they
her.
spotted something
Okay,
dark
bro.
floating in the water. It was a suitcase which seemed very strange and out of place. They fished it out and immediately called the police. Virginia Beach police arrived and opened the suitcase, and what the officer found inside was shocking. To his horror, he found 2 legs from the knees down, and the legs were wrapped in black garbage bags and
Bro,
sealed with adhesive
just,
tape.
you
They
know I
belonged
can
to a
see the
man, and
name
there
of
was
the
no ID,
TikToker,
no wallet,
right?
or anything else that could tell the investigators whose legs
You know,
they
I
had
am
just
not
found.
blind.
For the next several days, investigators had nothing to go off of but a pair of human legs, a suitcase, and the open water, but detectives worked hard to still try to figure out who this was. Fingerprint analysts attempted to lift prints from the suitcase, but water was on the surface, which degraded the friction ridge detail that would normally make fingerprint recovery possible. Crime scene supervisor Elizabeth Dunton said that the ocean was her greatest obstacle because the suitcases were saturated with water, and it just destroyed a lot of evidence that was probably on and inside of those suitcases. On May 11th, 2004,
Okay, should
just
I
a
actually
few
check
days
this?
later,
Okay.
a graduate student was picking
What is my sister's name? Dad, what is my sister? Because you won't like roses. Thanks, Dad. No problem, Terminator. And me, Dad, you too, Hyperion. What? 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 That doesn't even make any sense, bro.
trash on Fisherman
No,
Island National
you
Wildlife
make me
Beach,
want to bang
which
you,
is a
bro.
barrier island at
This
the
is too
southern
stupid.
end of Virginia Beach, near the entrance
That
to
doesn't
the
even make any sense.
Chesapeake
What?
Bay Bridge
What do you
tunnel.
mean?
This
Naming
is
your
where a
kid
second
Terminator?
suitcase was found washed up on the beach.
That's not.
This
That's
one was
not real,
larger,
bro.
though, and it was a 30-inch Kenneth Cole rolling bag, but inside were the torso and head of a man wrapped in garbage bags, and around the torso was a flat blanket. The head showed a gunshot entry wound to the forehead and an exit wound, and the torso showed 2 gunshot wounds to the chest, which was,
Oh,
again,
we got a banker
a
here.
horrifying and gruesome discovery for the investigators and the college student. Then, a third and final suitcase was recovered on May 16th, floating near the bridge tunnel's second island. This one was the
Bro,
smallest suitcase,
I hope your
and
kid
it
gets
contained the
terminated, bro.
midsection of the body,
Fucking
including the
no,
pelvic
man.
region and upper thighs down to the knees, connecting what had been in the first suitcase to what had been found in the second. The 3 pieces of a man, separated and sealed, had been thrown carelessly into the water, and they had drifted along the bay over 11 days before finally coming to rest in 3 separate locations. Together, these suitcases contained most of the human body of a man. A forensic artist was brought in to reconstruct his face, and this sketch was shared with the media with the hopes that someone out there would know who this man was. The investigators finally got an answer for who their John Doe could be.
You won't get
On
terminated.
May 21st, a close family friend of Bill McGuire's named Susan Rice saw the forensic sketch on TV. Something about this sketch just stopped her in her tracks. She called the Virginia Beach Police Department, and investigators confirmed that this man was William Thomas McGuire at only 39 years old.
She's the one
of
doing the
Bridge Township, New
terminating.
Jersey. He was a Navy
Bro,
veteran,
stop.
program
You guys just stop this
analyst, a
shit.
professor, and father of 2 little boys who were only 3 and 1. He'd been missing since April 28th, so more than 3 weeks, and no one had reported him missing. What happened to him? And more importantly, who was capable of doing something like this? Virginia Beach detectives headed to Melanie McGuire's new house to notify her about her husband's death. When they told her, they watched her reaction closely. Melanie burst into tears and sobbed for an hour, and her mother had to literally hold her up. But then one of the detectives noted something that stayed with him through the whole investigation. She made expressions as if she were crying, but she never shed a single tear.
Yeah,
She
right.
said that she immediately suggested investigators look into Bill's gambling connections in Atlantic City because he had a knack for making enemies, and that the wrong people may have finally caught
Oh,
up with him.
yeah.
Melanie immediately pointing fingers instead of asking
Yeah.
questions about her husband seemed
That's a
very
red flag.
odd. She told
Flag,
them that
bitch.
she had no idea where Bill's car was and no idea where Bill had gone on the night of April 28th.
Is this a hit or did she do
not
this?
tell them that she had
Is
driven
she
the car
ID,
to
man?
Atlantic City herself and parked it behind a motel, though. Before we get too deep into what happened next, we do need to spend some time on the autopsy, and if this part is too heavy to listen to, then please feel free to skip ahead.
Too
The
heavy to
autopsy
listen
on
to.
Bill's
What do you mean?
remains was one of the most technically
Yeah, pussy,
demanding
baby.
autopsies that any
Hello,
medical
Venom.
examiner has ever had to conduct for a few reasons.
Woo!
First, the body arrived in 3 separate suitcases, discovered at different locations over the span of 11 days, and each of them spent different amounts of time submerged in or floating near salt water. Salt water is extremely destructive to evidence, and it's corrosive to DNA, as we know from several recent cases, but forensic pathologist Dr. Wendy Gunther conducted the autopsy on Bill despite those challenging conditions, and she was still able to make some determinations about the cause and manner of death. Bill died from the gunshot wounds, and she determined that he was shot at least 3 times, but she believed the total number could have been 4. The condition of his body made an exact count difficult, though. The gunshots that she could document with certainty were 1 through the forehead and at least 2 in the torso. 2 bullets were recovered during the autopsy, and obviously these were not the bullets that passed through and exited because those were lost, but 2 bullets that had lodged within the tissues were still present. These bullets had been fired
Bro, what's
from a
happening here?
.38 caliber revolver. Based on ballistics, the weapon that fired these could have been produced by 6 or more different manufacturers, but that gun was never found to compare, so no match could be made between the weapon
Why am I
and the
just
recovered
getting?
bullets.
Why
We
am I just
do
getting
know,
banned
though,
over and
that
over
the
again?
caliber and bullet matched perfectly to what Melanie had purchased. The ME said that the second bullet that was recovered appeared to have what was called a short return. This was new to me, but this is a rare phenomenon when a bullet partially exits the body and then is drawn back into the skin around the wound. She said that she's only encountered these maybe 10 times in her entire
Did my
13-year career as a
Slayer
forensic
just die?
pathologist at that point.
Did
So
my
it's
Slayer
definitely a
despawn?
rare finding. One of the 2 bullets was covered with these greenish-brown fiber
Wait,
strands.
did my
though.
Slayer
These were
restart?
identified as
Yeah, it did.
polyester fill, which is the material
That's what he
used for
did.
stuffing pillows or couch cushions and other household items.
He's the one doing the
These bullets
terminating.
passed through a fabric-covered
Sunflower
object
guy,
before entering the body.
even bass
Why?
boosters.
The gun was fired through a pillow or similar object to silence
Bro,
the
I
sound
cannot
of the
play
shot.
music.
Remember, they were in their apartment that night,
I cannot
so
play
a
music, bro.
gunshot fired without any
You're
kind
gonna get me
of
banned.
sound silencer would have been clearly heard by the neighbors. And then, before you know it, police would have been on scene, and a killer obviously wouldn't have wanted that.
You're
The
gonna get me
McGuires
banned,
happened
bro.
to own a green couch with green cushions. The polyester fill and the greenish color of the fibers were consistent with material from those same exact cushions. The gun was never found, like I already mentioned, but the traces of the green polyester on the bullet inside of the dead man's body told investigators something important. Whoever fired that gun had thought
Did I
about
just
what
put
it would
Kuhn
sound
a
like outside
Vanquisher?
of the apartment and had access to the apartment. Melanie never reported any break-ins that night and didn't even report her husband missing, so things were
Isn't
already
tomatoes
looking
max
highly
PE?
suspicious. Who else could it be at this point? The autopsy found no defensive wounds on Bill, meaning there were
Isn't
no
he max
injuries to his
Beaster?
hands, arms, or body that would have suggested that he even tried to fight back, which is absolutely heartbreaking to think about. He was completely caught off guard by someone that he loved and trusted in his own home. According to the experts, given his size, this also strongly indicates that he was not fully conscious during the attack. Prosecutors argued that the reason he didn't fight back was because of the sedation from the chloral hydrate, which you will see how that came up during the investigation here shortly. It was also confirmed that the dismemberment occurred after death because there was an absence of any response at the cut sites, meaning his body did not react by bleeding when he was cut. The way his body was found showed that this was methodical and precise. Bone cuts were made using a reciprocating saw, but the soft tissue, or the skin, were cut with a sharp blade. The body was separated at anatomically logical points, meaning whoever did this had some level of anatomical knowledge or medical education. The prosecutors said that this had to be someone with medical or clinical experience, and I completely agree. The body had also been drained of blood prior to being put into these suitcases, and the garbage bags and suitcases contained almost no pooled blood. This is not the norm, and it took precision and planning for that to be the case. And him being
Yeah, maybe it's not for you, dude. Why is that email, bros?
when the
I'm not the minion, bitch.
in the apartment,
The
they
fuck?
essentially found nothing. They ripped up the flooring, the carpet, and they turned that entire apartment upside down, but they found almost no blood, strangely, inside that apartment. The toxicology test also showed no trace of chloral hydrate or any
Bro,
other
kill that
drugs in
guy.
the
He's
system.
killing me
But
so quickly.
an expert testified that chloral hydrate breaks down so quickly in the blood that after death and decomposition and saltwater exposure, it would accelerate the processes of degrading, making it highly unlikely.
Bro, stop killing me, bro.
any
Who is
traces
shooting me
in
like
the
this?
system after 7 to 11
Oh my god, I'm
days.
almost dying
The
from
most
this guy.
important finding that the ME discovered, though, was the forensic link between Melanie McGuire and the remains of her husband. There were 2 DNA profiles recovered from the adhesive tape used to seal the garbage bags around his body. The first individual was, of course, Bill. That was expected. But the second individual was Melanie. The defense's explanation for this was that she could have touched the tape at any point during home life because tape is a common household item, so the presence of her DNA meant that she had just touched it at some point in the past. Ridiculous, right? There were also small hairs embedded into the tape from razor stubble, like what you may find on a bathroom floor or sink, and this tied the scene to the apartment where the McGuires lived together. A bathroom floor doesn't spontaneously transport its contents onto packing tape. Something or someone carried them there during the process of wrapping his body, possibly in that bathroom where Bill once shaved. So, to close out our autopsy portion, the manner of death was, of course, a homicide. The official cause was from multiple gunshot wounds to either the head or chest because they would have both independently been fatal on their own. This was overkill. The combination of the head and chest gunshots were not the pattern that you'd see in an accident or struggle. This was deliberate murder. Now, to go back to the investigation, in October 2004,
Deliberate
the
murder.
New Jersey State Police took over the case. One of the most significant findings was Bill's car. He had a 2002 Nissan Maxima, and it had been towed from the Flamingo Motel parking lot in Atlantic City on May 8th, 2 weeks after Bill vanished, after a towing company employee reported that a vehicle had been sitting in the employee lot without the required sticker. When police looked at his car, they found several things that were highly concerning on the front passenger seat. Bill's cell phone and brochures for Atlantic City and Virginia Beach hotels were there. Was Bill hotel shopping before his disappearance, and if so, why? Inside the glove compartment, they found something even more concerning, though, a syringe that matched the kind of syringes used at the Morristown Fertility Clinic and a prescription bottle of chloral hydrate. This is when they discovered that prescription that was in the name of one of Dr. Miller's real patients and that it had been filled at 8:32 in the morning on April 28th at a Walgreens pharmacy in Edison. This was 12 minutes after Melanie had dropped her kids off at daycare. Investigators vacuumed the interior of the car to have forensics take a look, and it contained microscopic fragments of human flesh. This is not consistent with material that would have been shed by a living person, like dead skin cells that slough off. these would only be produced during the dismemberment of a human body. The media described it as human sawdust, which just turns my stomach, but
Sawdust?
prosecutors argued that this was evidence that Bill McGuire's remains or tools to murder him had to have been transported in his vehicle. The blanket found around Bill's torso was another thread that led back to Melanie. The blanket had the markings HCSC.
Sawdust? Yeah, she's talking about sawdust, bro.
That distributed medical grade linens to hundreds of medical practices all over New Jersey. Reproductive Medicine Associates of Morristown just so happened to be one of their clients, and they received a batch in
I need
April
sawdust like
2005.
bad, bro. I need like
A witness also
200 million
testified that
sawdust.
Melanie had been seen using the same type of blanket to protect her furniture during her independent move into their house, without Bill there, keep in mind, which confirmed that she did in fact have work blankets at home with her. The black bags that were used to wrap William McGuire's body also showed that they came from the same manufacturing batch as bags that were found
She would
in
have
the
done the
McGuire
program.
apartment.
Bro, I didn't know
An
it
expert
existed
matched
before
them
it
using
was patched.
microscopic
Nobody told me,
production
bro.
markings, showing that they were
Literally,
made
nobody
on the
told me.
same line within hours of each other. Melanie had also used
Bro,
similar
I would have given
bags
you
to
like one
give
bill if you
away
told
her
me, bro. I'm
husband's
not kidding.
clothes after his
In hindsight, I would have
disappearance,
given like one bill for
linking
someone
those
to tell me
bags
that.
to her before, during, and after her husband's murder. The home computer also had an interesting search history on it, including topics like
Should I
poison,
scroll
gun
TikTok,
laws,
bro?
sedatives, and
Why the
murder
fuck should I
methods that had
scroll
been
TikTok?
conducted
You are
between
DM.
April 11th
Bro,
and
no,
April
man.
26,
You're
2004.
not scrolling on
This was
TikTok.
happening up until a couple of days before Bill was killed. The Easy Pass record was another critical
Is that the
finding.
real
For those
bridge?
of you that don't live in a state with these,
Oh, that
the
bridge
Easy
is
Pass is
crazy.
a transponder to access toll roads, and it tracks where you're driving and when. Melanie's Easy Pass transponder was recorded at a Delaware toll booth on Sunday, May 3rd, with another charge recorded on May
Okay,
18th.
if
A trip
that's
from
what's
Woodbridge, New Jersey,
if
through
it's not
Delaware and into
scrolling,
Virginia would place
yeah,
a
whatever.
driver on that exact
I'd rather
route
not scroll
to
and
the
not find
Chesapeake
out
Bay Bridge.
than having to
Melanie's
scroll
explanation for
TikToks
this was that
like a
she
degen,
went furniture shopping in
finding out.
Delaware because the state has no sales tax, but she couldn't provide any receipts or any other evidence about this trip. After the investigation went
Die,
public,
bitch.
Melanie even
Oh.
contacted Easy Pass
How
customer
did I get
service
mining
and
XP?
attempted to have them remove
Oh my
the
god.
90-cent toll from her account, but the investigators had already looked into her records, so it was too late to hide that evidence. Dr. Miller was concerned after the news broke, and even more concerned when he learned about the prescription. He said that Melanie forged his signature, and he cooperated with the police even though he believed she was still innocent. It took some convincing, but he wore a wire during his phone conversations with Melanie, and she consistently denied any involvement in Bill's death. Investigators didn't get a confession like they had hoped, unfortunately,
Bro,
so
we
they
don't
went
know.
through Melanie's friend named
What do you
James
mean
Finn.
forge?
He also agreed to record his conversations
What's
with
forge?
her. This is when they found out that Melanie had approached Finn before the murder, asking about how she could get a gun to protect herself. They heard this on the recording, and it once again confirmed her purchasing the gun, and it wasn't
What?
because Bill wanted it or owned it, Melanie did. On June
Bro,
2nd, 2005,
she's not
more than
again
13
about the
months
forge
after
and
Bill
government
McGuire's
mines,
last phone
dumbass.
calls, New Jersey State Police finally arrested Melanie McGuire. Officers waited until she dropped her kids off at daycare, and then as she was walking back to get into her car to go to work, they swooped in and arrested her. Melanie McGuire was finally taken into
They arrested
custody.
her like
She was transported
Dante?
to the Somerville State
No,
Police Station
like
for
Aura?
processing and
No,
arraigned
like
later
Squid
that
Kid.
day before Middlesex County Superior Court. She was charged with the first-degree murder of her husband and booked into the correctional center. Her bail was set at $750,000, and she entered a plea of
Damn,
not
that's a
guilty.
lot of money.
She surprisingly made bail and went home.
What?
I was so shocked
There's
to
no
find
way
that
she
out,
put out
but additional charges
75K.
came in October
Holy
2005
shit.
from a grand jury, and then her bail was raised to $2.1 million. She posted it again and was released again. In October 2006, she was charged with 2 counts of hindering the investigation because of anonymous letters that she sent to law
Wait,
enforcement to
she
try to throw
posted
them off.
2.1 million
Again,
bond
she
and
pleaded not guilty and was
200K
released.
bond.
She remained a free woman until the end of the trial. Melanie McGuire's trial began on March 5th, 2007.
I mean, yeah,
and
why
lasted
shouldn't
7
you?
weeks, with over
That makes sense
100
why she
witnesses
posted that
and
much bond
tons
up,
of
right?
media attention.
Why wouldn't she?
Prosecutors argued that she murdered
Like,
her
she knows
husband
her
to start
life
a
is
new life
over
with her
when
affair
the
partner,
trial comes to an
and the
end.
defense focused on
So, like, why
challenging the
wouldn't you
strength
spend
of
your
the
money
evidence instead of trying to
to have
blame
some
anybody else for
time
what
of
she did.
freedom
They argued that Melanie lacked the physical ability to commit this crime
if you know you're
alone,
gonna get
but
caught
didn't
anyway?
say who
Like,
would
why
have
wouldn't
helped
you
her,
not?
and
That's
emphasized
an
the
easy
absence
choice.
of direct evidence like a murder weapon, blood, or eyewitnesses, so they felt that this case was completely circumstantial. Key testimony came from Dr. Bradley Miller, who confirmed their affair, denied writing a prescription for the chloral hydrate, and cooperated with investigators. The wiretapped conversations were played where Melanie did deny everything, but she did make some statements that suggested insider knowledge. The defense pointed out that she never confessed, though, so those wiretaps basically meant nothing to them. Melanie did not testify, but the jurors still heard her through those recordings and a video diary. On
Unless
April
Scary
23,
Jones. Bro, imagine
2007,
if
after deliberating for
X
several
started.
days, the jury returned its
Oh,
verdict.
imagine if like
Melanie
Elon
McGuire was
Musk's
found guilty of
kids or something
first-degree murder for
wanted to
bail.
play Skyblock.
They also convicted her
Bro,
of desecration
holy.
of human remains, possession of a weapon for unlawful purposes, and perjury related to the restraining
Bro,
order that
they
she
have a
filed
shit on
against
us,
a
man.
man that she had murdered. She was acquitted on all other counts, which wasn't ideal, but they were unanimous in the fact that she did in fact murder Bill McGuire in cold blood. When that verdict was read, Melanie was visibly upset, but Bill's family was relieved that she was
That's
willing
what I'm
to
thinking.
spend
Like,
the
bro,
rest of her
just
life
it takes
behind
just
bars.
one like
She's
millionaire,
continued
even
to
like a
maintain her
millionaire,
innocence to this
just
day.
burn his
On
money
July
on this
19th,
game to
2007,
become number one
Melanie
net
was
worth.
sentenced to life in prison, plus 5 years with a
You can
minimum
do
of
as a
63
millionaire.
and 3/4 years before she's eligible for
I
parole.
swear you can.
She was 34 years old at the time of sentencing, so she's not going to be
I
eligible for parole
don't need
until
to be
she's
no billionaire,
101.
baby.
After she was convicted, Melanie McGuire quickly tried to appeal everything, but that didn't pan out, luckily. And her conviction and sentence were upheld on an appeal in 2011, and the New Jersey Supreme Court declined any further review for this case. She also tried to claim ineffective
You can spend
counsel,
more
and that
money,
was
but
also
you can only
denied.
buy
She remains incarcerated in New
$400 worth
Jersey
of
at the
cookies per
Edmond
day.
Woodley
Yeah,
Correctional Facility for Women, while her 2
but
sons are
still,
being raised by her
just
aunt.
doing that over
Bill's
many years,
sons
you're
have
still
no
gonna
relationship with Melanie.
make the
William
most
Bill
amount of
Thomas
money,
McGuire served
and
as
you can do it on
computer
multiple
geek.
accounts,
He
8
became a
accounts in
computer
one co-op.
programmer and taught college
Like, yeah, you can just
courses.
work around
He
it.
fulfilled his dream of becoming a father,
Just
and
buy
now both of
gold
his
on
sons are
8
being
different
raised by his
accounts and
sister
same co-op.
because both of their parents were taken from them in different ways. His family and children are forever changed by this loss, and it didn't have to be this way. Melanie McGuire is an absolute disgrace to the nursing profession and humanity, and it really makes me angry when we see people take an oath to heal, serve, and advocate for others commit such heinous crimes. If she was unhappy in the marriage, divorce was always an option, not murder. Melanie was the ultimate
Oh no, it
witness
wouldn't be
exposing in
you,
my
serious,
eyes,
bro.
and the
It would just
only
be a new
sympathy I have in
boat
this
or something,
case is
Simon.
reserved for her children,
Maybe a new
Bill,
car.
and his loved ones. I'm sending them all my love, and I hope that he is resting peacefully. Thank you so much for listening to
No,
Bill's
maybe we
story
get a
and for
damage
spending time with
rework.
me today. I hope that you had a
Or
wonderful
maybe we
week,
get
bestie. And please don't
what
forget
else?
to do something that makes your
Maybe
heart
we get
happy. There's sorters. Don't forget our
intelligence
butterfly
rework.
secret handshake in the chat. And I will see
Intelligence
you next
rework?
week.
I don't know.
A 25-year-old grad student vanished on an ordinary morning in a town with
Like, what's a
troubling
stupid
history.
rework they might do?
Jelani Day left behind a trail of eerie clues, and his family was desperate for answers, but weeks later, his body was found in a river, and it was ruled a drowning with an undetermined manner of death. There were no suspects, no charges, and an investigation that slowly went quiet. Nobody understood how a healthy, ambitious young man ended up dead under such bizarre circumstances.
Bizarre?
Years later, the case remains open but inactive.
Yo, I know
suspended
Bizarre.
somewhere between an accident, somehow doing this to himself, and possible foul play. Today, we're going to deep dive into everything that we know about the case, and if you haven't heard of Jelani's story, you're definitely going to want to stick around.
Hey.
Welcome to the True Crime Nurse, everybody. My name is Kat, and I'm a registered nurse who loves all things nursing and true crime. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell before you go. All right, my friends, grab a snack and a drink, and let's get started. Jelani Jesse Javante Day was born on June 15th, 1996, in Danville, Illinois, to Steve and Carmen Bolden Day. Jelani grew up in a large family as one of 5 siblings, and he dreamed of getting married and having 6 kids of his own someday.
No.
Jelani had
As a
direction,
pet girl?
purpose, and drive
Yes.
from a very young age. He earned his undergraduate degree at Alabama A&M University, where he was a proud member of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
Omega?
In August of
Like the Fortnite
2021,
skin?
he took the next big step in his life, beginning a graduate program in speech-language pathology at Illinois State University. His long-term goal was to eventually become a doctor, and according to everybody that knew him personally, that dream felt very real and very attainable. Jelani was never directionless or lost at any point in his life. He was motivated, intelligent, deeply faithful, organized, and excited about where his life was headed. Outside of school, he was actively working on launching his own
Getting
clothing
Omega
line,
is my biggest
which
regret
is
in life.
something that he had
How?
been planning and talking about for
How do you not
months.
have Omega,
The
bro?
brand's debut was scheduled for
I
October
have that
9th,
with all the lights,
2021,
bro. I have Omega
and
with full
tragically,
lights.
that day
Dumbass, you
ended up
suck.
being the day of his funeral instead. For his family, that alone stresses how impossible it is to believe that Jelani would ever choose to disappear, because he had plans, momentum, and he was building something that he felt so passionate about. Those closest to Jelani describe him as kind, ambitious, and thoughtful. He was someone who
Do you
checked
have
in on the
the
people
do you
that he
have
loved
golden
often,
banana?
and he stayed connected with his family always. His life didn't show any signs of
I spent
problems
so much time
that
to get
suggest
golden
that he was
banana, bro.
spiraling or struggling in any way. In fact, it was quite the opposite. This is why his sudden disappearance made no sense from the very beginning. On Monday, August 23rd, 2021,
Bro, there was this golden
Jelani
banana
spoke
you
with
could
his
get.
mother
I think it
Carmen
was in
over the
chapter
phone,
2,
and he told her that he
season
was
1 or
able to
2.
class, and he just
And
wanted to hear his
literally,
mom's voice,
you
but
had
that
to
later
play
he'd call
like
her back. That sweet
10 to
phone
12
call would
hours
be their
every single
final
day, entire
conversation.
season.
Nothing seemed off
You got it.
whatsoever. The next morning, on Tuesday, August 24th, Jelani was going about his normal routine. At 7:20 a.m., security
And
cameras
guess
on
who got
campus
it, bro?
recorded him walking
Guess who
through
got
the
it,
Wellness
bro?
Student Center at ISU.
Yes,
He
sir.
was dressed nicely
I
in a
think
blue
it's the
button-up
rarest
shirt,
skin in the game.
black dress pants, a black belt, dress shoes, and
I
a
would think
blue
it's the rarest
face
skin in
mask,
the game.
looking like a typical student getting ready for their school day. If you were wondering why he was wearing a mask, think about what was going on in the whole world during 2021. Then around 9:12 a.m., Jelani was seen on surveillance video at a store in Bloomington called the Beyond/Hello Dispensary. In that clip, he had changed into some more casual clothes, wearing a blue Detroit Lions hat, a black Jimi Hendrix t-shirt, white shorts, and black sneakers. This was
Like
the clothing
I
that
was
Jelani
hosting my
last
own
known
bot
to be wearing,
lobbies
and that's
on an
important
alt
for this
account on a
investigation.
different device,
After that stop
and
at the
then
dispensary, Jelani
dropping
Day
nukes on bombs,
completely
no, on
vanished.
bots,
He did not show
and
up
then
for his
winning
scheduled
every
classes
run
at ISU on August
round, and it still
25th,
took me over a
which
month
actually led to one
to
of his
max it.
professors reporting his absence to the campus
Or just
police.
bot lobbying.
I've personally never heard of them doing this, but this wasn't like Jelani at all. That same day, Jelani's family became worried when they couldn't reach him through calls or texts, and Carmen said that she knew something was wrong as soon as her normally responsive son didn't reply to her. This led to the family officially reporting Jelani as a missing person on August 25th, and Bloomington police immediately
Is there
opened
like
an
a
investigation. In the afternoon of Thursday, August 26th,
How many has
officers
for
in the
the
town of Peru, Illinois, responded to a suspicious vehicle near the Illinois Valley YMCA. This town is about 60 miles north of Bloomington,
Let me actually search
Illinois.
up. Let's see.
Deep in a wooded
How many people has full golden beanie? Communicate the estimates for players to achieve this vary, with some early guesses speculating 500 or fewer players. Some users reported use reaching only 300 level 310 after playing 1,600 matches. Obtaining this skin required roughly 350 hours of playtime or 15 straight days of gameplay during Chapter 2, Season 2. Yes, bro. Yes, bro.
brushy area not far from the YMCA, police discovered Jelani's
Yes,
car,
bro. It
which
has
was
to
a
be the rarest skin in the
2010
game.
Chrysler 300, and it was clearly abandoned and hidden by trees. The car's license plates had been removed, which is an immediate red flag that someone tried to hide the vehicle, and the ability to track down who it belonged to, too. Inside the car, investigators found the clothing that Jelani had last been wearing on August 24th, and it had been neatly folded and left behind. This raised so many questions. Why would Jelani travel to Peru, which is a small city where he had no known connections, and then hide his own car and neatly remove his clothes? As soon as Jelani's car was found, law enforcement conducted extensive searches of the surrounding area. Police K-9 units
Just having
combed
full
through
golden
the
peel is
woods,
probably more.
drones scanned
No, it's
overhead,
rarer than
and
literally
ground
every
search
single
teams from
skin ever in
multiple
the game, I
fire
think.
departments searched the vicinity for any sign
Right?
of Jelani,
Has to be.
but no trace was found at that time. His family was completely heartbroken and worried because he was still missing, and
Like
now the
Renegade
focus
Raider
shifted
and
to the Peru
Gold
area
Trooper
to
and stuff.
continue
There's
looking
like
for
tens
him.
of thousands of them.
Carmen and her family rushed to Peru as soon as they learned about the car being found. They were so upset and confused, though. Carmen said that the family had no ties to that area, and Peru's population is small, at about 10,000 people, and less than 0.5% is black.
When they get way
The
there.
Day family was sure that Jelani would not have gone there on his own, and his mother immediately suspected that someone else who knew the area had to have brought him there. Peru also has quite the notorious history as a former sundown town, which is known to be unwelcoming to people of color, and this stood out to the Day family and only added to the worry that something nefarious happened here. Historically, sundown towns or sunset towns,
I'd rather go on a party with
all
JC.
over the United States, sadly, even
Of course
still.
not, but
And
okay.
these are towns that are known to exclude people of color. Peru just so
Ooh,
happens
that's a
to be
picky
one
one.
of
I
them.
mean, what
Throughout the
would
week, the mystery
JC
about what happened to
tell me
Jelani
that
in
would
Peru.
make me
Law
money?
enforcement urged
What
the
could he
public
do
to
that would make
please
me money?
provide any tips, and Jelani's family, fraternity brothers, and friends also organized their own search parties too. The story began gaining media traction, especially when the family pointed out that another case that was all over the media was getting.
Wait, hold on a second. Let me try something. Is it possible for me to go into chess game and then look at it, play it on my other phone, on my phone? Wait, let me look at something. Let me see. Yo, who is that? Yo, who is that? How about this? Hey, Botas. Right, hold on. Okay, it's working, it's working, it's working, it's working. It's working, it's working. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay. Alright. It's working, it's working. Oh. Come on, man. Oh. Oh, he's pushing inward right now, huh? Yeah? Alright. Okay, come on there, baby. Come here, baby. Come here. Please come. Ooh. Okay. Let me come take that puppy. Come here. Here. Ooh, that was a good play by him. That was a really good play by him. Yeah. I actually don't know. Come on. Still got a lot of time left, buddy. Mm-hmm. Come on. Ooh. Did I just blunder? Oh my god, I just blundered my fucking. Oh my god. Oh, I just blundered back. Oh, oh man. I just blundered so bad. Oh, fuck. Okay. I mean, the best I could really do is play a Shaq. But then the Shaq, you would have put him there. It would have gave him attack on me, which gives him another free move. There's nowhere I can go. I cannot go there. 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 My best move here will probably be to somehow threaten one of his pieces, right? It has to be. Oh, thank you. You, you blundered. You blundered. You blundered. You blundered. You blundered. Ah, 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 you blunder, you dummy dumb. You silly goose. You silly goose. You blundered, hey. You blundered. You blundered. Hey, you blundered. Okay, so he's fully trapped. Well, that's good. Him being fully trapped is really good for me, right? You blundered. Hey, you blundered. You blunder. You blunder. You blundered. You blundered. You blunder. You blunder. You blundered. You blundered. Blundered. Ah, 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 oh, wait. I need to play an aggressive move here, otherwise I will lose that piece. Shit. Uh, no, we're fine. That's a free pawn for you, baby. But because you moved it from there, I can now move this here. Okay? Oh my, I didn't even see that. Oh my god, I didn't even see that. Wait. Oh. For me to get out of this somehow. Please, I blundered. I think. He's up. He's up. He's up. Yeah, that was terrible by me. That was terrible, bro. No. But how is he up so much? I have two. Like how is he up so much? Pretty good stuff, in my opinion. I have more than enough to win this game. Oh, that's a spicy one from you there. That's a really spicy one from you there. Oh. Hmm. How does he respond? He blundered. He blundered, blundered, blundered. He blundered, he blundered, he blundered, blundered, blundered. He blundered, he blundered, he blundered, blundered, blundered. He blundered, he blundered, he blundered, blundered, blundered. Wait, no! I blundered! Blundered, blundered, blundered! No! Please take that. Please take that. Please. Don't you worry about a thing. Don't you worry about a thing. Da, 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 Wait. Wait, he could have mated me in one there. What's he doing? He was one of mating me. No, man. Fuck! Fuck, man! I made a massive blunder there. I blundered one. I know what I blundered on, and it's actually so annoying. Fuck you, game. Fuck you, game. I know what blunder I did, and it literally ruined my entire game. I literally realized it within a millisecond. I was an eager beaver. Eager beaver. I was too excited, bro. I got caught lacking, bro. I was too excited, man. We caught lacking, and he took advantage, man. I should have slid on all the ops, bro. I really should have. Come on, man. Woo, woo. What the fuck is that? uh, Not bad, not bad, not bad. It's improving here now. Okay. Eager beaver, you know? Yeah. The bras and the diamond. Hey, 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 hey. I got bras in Atlanta. Timmy, Donna, go get you a Bonner. Timmy, Donna. Oh, yeah, you know. Timmy, Donna, go get you a burner. Timmy, Donna, go get you a burner. Timmy, Turner, go get you a burner. Okay. Alright, we're done now. Come on, man. Good. Did I do anything wrong here? Yeah, I knew it. Look, what did I do wrong? I know I did something very wrong. Let me see when I did the big blunder, bro. I know when I did it too. Wait, no. Go get your burner. Bro, I was literally on the toilet shitting. What the fuck you mean, bro?
Far more coverage than Jelani. Carmen said, quote, "We saw what happened with the Gabby Petito case, where..."
Wait.
Guys, the wrinkled shirt, the hat, you know what time it is. It's time for some TCWD. Let's get it, let's go. You see that? Look, right now, look, we're gonna slap on the headphones. Oh, wait. Oh. Okay. Slap that. Alright, cool. Let's watch some TCWD. Come on. Oh, and my background changed. Oh, I've been there. These used to be cotton fields. Picked up all of them. Now I understand why they want me to pick the cotton. Alright, it's been a while since we've done TCWD, you know.
So, when he took you in the room, what did he say to get you to go to the room?
He said you can't tell anybody.
Come on.
That the child... Bro, honestly, anytime I just anything with kids, I bruv, I will never understand. Like, I will never get it, bro. Like, bruv, I know it's like a power thing or something. It's like a power trip, but
made some allegation against your husband.
Okay.
We had fun with kids on vacation. That's what I'm saying.
She told me, I have a secret, but I can't tell you, and she started crying.
I lived a boring life. Didn't know I was going to wake up a hardened criminal. What the heck did I do?
What do you mean, you stupid? So I don't know the case yet. I'm sorry.
Wait,
I'm
I didn't
getting
know
really
I have
angry,
gold
but I don't
on
know the
this.
case yet. Sorry.
Wait, I have
The
gold
other
on
child
this?
said that you
Since
walked
when?
into a room and shut the door behind you guys. For a 5-year-old to be very descriptive about that. Obviously,
Since when did I get gold on this account?
You guys tell him a big up.
Well,
Why would he do this to her?
A parent's worst nightmare comes true when a 5-year-old makes a stomach-churning allegation against one of her friends' fathers.
Darna.
As the truth
Go on,
comes to light, it's not
burn.
only worse than anyone
Since
thought
when did I have
possible,
gold on this
but
account? I don't
proves
even
that
know, bro.
sometimes the worst monsters are the ones hiding in plain
He's
sight.
90 more ranks.
Sounds
Ooh.
like I keep finding myself in the middle of this stuff.
The following is based on official.
I guess I'll just
records and
give
Man said
myself.
he keeps finding himself. Then don't do anything with kids, bruv. You sick fuck. Sorry.
Seen before until now.
I love that,
On
Jiro.
the evening of April 24th, 2022, the Manatee County Sheriff's Office in Palmetto, Florida, receives a disturbing 911 call from a concerned parent.
Honestly, you know what? The one thing I know, I can never be a cop, because if I get a call, right, and then like something like this happens, the amount of restraint you need to have to not want to just elbow that guy in the face and just do something to him. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to have that. Bro. And I see it in it. Gosh. That's why you have to. Not all pigs are pigs. You know what I mean? There are actually good pigs out there. Like, you get micro pigs. Those are good pigs, bro. So that's what I'm saying. Not all pigs are pigs. So pick up the good pigs. The bad pigs suck my but the good pigs pick up you, man.
Receives a disturbing 911 call from a concerned
Bro,
parent.
why are you dissing the cops right now? No, I love Deji. We love Deji, bro. Deji is the GOAT. He's top 5 black man of all time. He really is.
And she said, well, I don't want
Some may even say top 3.
She claims that it happened today, this afternoon. We were celebrating another neighbor's birthday party.
The little girl claims one of her neighbors did something unthinkable to her. Deputies are sent to the caller's house, but parked down the street.
Look at this. Look at the houses. They're like carbon copies. They're literally copy and paste. That's kind of like one of those simulations that you go to where they just put you in a house and everyone's just the same, right? But I've noticed that in America they do that. They like to do that, like carbon copies of houses. Maybe it's laziness. And a lot of them, they don't use like bricks.
It is
like
laziness.
they do in the UK. They use wood. Bruv, how you living in a house full of wood? I will get termites, bruv, and just destroy your whole thing. Sorry. Let's watch.
In order to avoid bringing.
Why would you not live in a house of wood? Wood is so much more beautiful than brick, bro. It is so much better.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Deputies sit down with the 5-year-old, but nothing can prepare them for the harrowing story she will
They're
tell.
interviewing the 5-year-old? What the
Do you have
fuck?
any friends in the neighborhood?
I got a Sky. So you shut the door.
What?
You shut the door and
The little girl describes the man inappropriately touching her.
Who's that?
Thompson's.
You said Thompson from... Okay.
Mr. Thompson is one of their neighbors who lives down the street. He's the
What
father
the
of some
fuck,
of
bro?
the children she plays with.
So, when he took you in the room, what did he say to get
Wait,
you
so
in
he's
the
the
room?
father of other
You
kids?
can't tell anybody. He said, follow me.
Okay. And then
What?
you guys got in the room and did he show you any
How
pictures?
has nobody stopped this guy?
He showed me like young girls like me.
Where do you have those pictures?
We were in Georgia.
Okay. Did anything else happen in Georgia? No? Nothing else happened in Georgia?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your secret with me. Yeah, I've
Damn.
talked to people. I'm just gonna call them out here if you want to go back inside with her.
That's
I'll
mental.
I'll let you know what's gonna happen for next.
But I want to
With
know
the
what she
child
said.
and her mother out of earshot, the deputies discuss the situation.
Dad was just freaking out in there and like banging on the walls in his closet and it scared the kids. So I had to go in there and tell him to chill the out. I get why he's upset, but I was just like, listen, dude, you gotta pull it together for your kid's sake, man. Are you willing tonight to go down to Sarasota to get that forensic doctor visit?
Yeah.
Okay, I figured you were, because I know your husband asked about the emergency room.
The swimsuit the 5-year-old was wearing at the birthday party is also collected as evidence. The next day, on April 25th, deputies track down 44-year-old Christopher
Uh-oh.
Thompson while he's working for the Manatee County.
Because he's a dad, he has kids, he has a nice house, he has a good job, he has a nice wife, and he still does this. How is this even humanly possible, bro? What the fuck is happening?
Ha! Dead. I bet he's like, what's going on?
What's my just sent that? Here, why don't you take a seat? Okay.
No, he knows what's happening.
Dude, seriously, can't tell me anything? I can't. They'll explain it to you in a minute.
Though they keep
He
in the
knows.
dark about why he's being detained, it doesn't stop one of the deputies from talking to Chris's coworker.
Serious? Oh yeah. Yeah. Real bad. Yeah.
Texas one of them? Oh, actually. Second one is his or something?
Yeah. That's not his, bro. Yeah.
Oh, mate.
You never know with people. You never know. So.
While they wait for the transport to arrive
That's
and
his
take custody of
coworker.
Chris, they allow
They work
him to
together?
sit inside a vehicle.
Oh,
I
man.
mean, if his co-worker now knows, his co-worker gonna tell everyone else that he works with that he's a nonce. So his life is over, bro. Oh, bro.
So freaking puzzled over this thing.
No, you're not, bruv.
Run into something, they just don't know what it is.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yes, you do, you sicko.
Right, sir.
While Chris is transported to the Manatee County Sheriff's Office, other deputies arrive at his home where his wife Charlotte answers the door.
Hi, how you doing?
Oh, she looks so jolly and happy.
Can I end my call?
Yes.
You're welcome to come in.
Okay.
Charlotte
looks so
is
jolly
asked
and
to step
happy.
into her backyard and is told that she's not allowed to enter the home without one of the deputies.
Your husband's on his way to talk to the detective at our office. He just wants us to just stand by with you here.
Wait, sorry, I'm procrastinating. So the backyard is just joint with other people's backyards. Isn't that not weird? I feel like that's not a health hazard, right? Hey, you know what? Ignore me. Maybe you guys can educate me in the comments or tell me I'm right or wrong or whatever. I feel like that's a health hazard though. I'll say why I think it's a health hazard. Like anyone could just go into your back garden. It's not fenced up or anything. Like anyone can just enter. That's crazy.
Talk to the detective at our office.
Like anyone, bro. It's not like it's just like the next to the neighbors. It's anyone there, bruv. Sorry.
True.
One of the deputies.
That is very
Your
true.
husband's on his way to talk to the detective at our office. He just wants us to just stand by with you here.
It is way better. It looks way nicer though when it's fully open, to be honest. But
Yeah, I don't know.
maybe the
Yeah,
entire
it's
area is
onto
fenced,
the house. Well,
just
they,
not the
get
property
search
itself.
warrant signed by a judge.
Okay. Feel a little better if I knew what was going on. Or who? Is it in regards to my husband?
I believe so, since he's on the way to the office to talk to our detective, so I'm assuming it's about him.
It's not submitted yet, so it's going to be a little bit. Do something?
I have no idea, ma'am.
So I lived a boring life. Didn't know I was gonna wake up a hardened criminal. What the heck did I do?
Shut up, bro.
Detective Blake. The Burge. What's your name again?
Chris Thompson.
Chris. Okay.
Yeah, sure. We need to make sure we have the right guy because it's the first time I've had. Yeah,
absolutely.
Telling him
The detective goes over Chris's Miranda rights.
Having these rights in mind, do you wish to talk to us?
It depends what this is, because if it's something I'm out in the middle of, I don't want to be.
Yeah, like I said, that's kind of like the last thing. You can exercise these rights at any time and not answer any questions or make any statements. That's your right.
Yeah, I just want to know what's going on.
Okay. So, hey, you are willing to talk to us then?
For the moment.
I've been using this new exfoliating cream. It's actually working, low-key.
Yeah, bro.
When you guys tell me, is it working? But I also feel like because it's the weight loss as well. Because if I was fatter, sorry, procrastination at its finest. Sorry, I'm just already pissed off because anything to do with kids, man. It's just. I just want you guys to picture as if this was your child, and then this kid has touched your child, bruv. You're gonna go crazy, bro. You will absolutely lose it. All right, word of the day: exasperated. You will be very exasperated.
What the fuck is that? Exasperated?
Kid, bro. Exasperated.
Okay.
Bro.
With Chris finally agreeing to speak, the detective gives him a hint about why he's there.
So, tell me about this past weekend, because why you're here is because of what we did the past weekend.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Chris explains that he took his 3 children, aged 11, 7, and 5, to a birthday party for one of their neighbor's kids. He says that throughout the course of the day, the children ended up playing at multiple houses, including his own. He also states that his wife wasn't there because she was at the hospital with her grandmother.
Did anything happen with his children yesterday why you could possibly be here?
No.
Okay. Were his kids in your house at any time?
Oh, they were all in and out, yeah.
Okay. Were you inside the house with any of your kids?
Yeah, in and out. All of mine. We had it because we were doing gymnastics in my house, my girls, and my son was there too.
Gymnastics at house.
I remember all of them. Yeah, one of the neighbor kids was there.
Who was that?
I forgot her name.
No, you didn't.
My anxiety's crazy today. I'm trying to think. Okay. I can't think of her name now.
Was it? Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
So were you guys alone inside your house by any chance?
Not alone. No, we had all the kids there.
The next arrival at Charlotte and Chris's house is someone from Child Protective Services, and this seems to tip off Charlotte that the situation is far more concerning than she initially believed.
I think that the detective wants to talk to the kids too. So he said if you can go with her and pick up the kids and you guys could meet at the office over there.
Oh.
You can follow her to the office.
Okay. Okay.
With the kids.
Sure.
Okay?
You want me to take the kids or?
Yeah.
Okay.
He wants you to take...
Whoa. I'm so sorry. Wait, I can't take my kids?
He wants her to come with her and you can follow her with her to the office.
My kids don't know her.
I understand.
I'm happy to, I will load them in the car. I will follow you. But can somebody please tell me what's going on?
Yeah.
I'll explain it to you when they get to the
You're really scaring me, the fact that, I don't know what's going on.
Without telling Charlotte any more details, they decide that CPS will pick up the children from school, and she will follow them to the Manatee County Sheriff's Office. In Chris's interview, the detective asks him about the 5-year-old daughter of one of his neighbors, the same little girl.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about this.
So, is saying that you showed her some images on your cell phone.
Images on my phone.
That's correct, or a tablet.
I don't really know how to feel when they do this because.
Well, they watch YouTube on my phone.
But you specifically showed her these images.
Of what?
Of you, in a state.
Oh heck no. No.
No.
No.
Don't have any idea what I'm talking about.
Oh no, there's nothing like that on my.
Did you go into a bedroom with her yesterday?
No.
Okay, why would she be telling me that?
I'm not sure why. I don't remember going in a bedroom with her.
Oh, you changed it up quick.
Specifically escort her into the room and shut the door.
No.
Because I have another child that was there saying that is what they saw.
Oh no.
Also, so saying it, and then I have another child saying that.
What room did I take her in?
Your room.
Oh, my room.
Yes.
I don't remember ever having her. I was in my room, but she wasn't.
She described
What?
it as your room. So if she's not really familiar with your house that much, she described it as your room. And the other child said that you walked into a room and shut the door behind you guys.
Damn.
Okay. So, and then while in the room, something happened where you showed her videos
No.
of you, other children performing on you.
No. Oh, good lord.
Bruv, honestly, as the dad, if I was the dad of one of the children, bro, I don't care. I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail. I don't care. I'm going to jail. Bro, I will go to jail that same day if I find out what he did. I don't care. Dead ass, going to jail. I will break every little piece. I will destroy him, bro. I will eliminate him. I will annihilate him. I will vaporize him. I will freaking exasperate. I will exasperate his whole body with violence. That makes sense. But you know what I mean? Oh, bro, that's so messed up, bro. Oh, bro, because I know parents watch me too. Please just be careful of like where you put your children. You know what I mean? Make sure if they go to a sleepover or whatever, make sure the parents aren't weirdos, bro. You know what you need to, no, I don't even know. Just put an air tag in their shoe or something, bro. Or like just maybe don't do sleepovers. Maybe when they're at a good age, a certain age, not 5, bruv. But when they're older, maybe the teens, then you can allow them to do sleepovers. You know what I mean? Not when they're 5. You don't put too much trust in someone with your child when they're only 5, bro. Unless it's like a family relative or something. Oh, mate, you're sick. This guy is sick. Christopher Thompson, you sick individual. You absolute melt. Oh, bro, please.
Lord, hell no.
So obviously concerns.
Okay, yeah, now I see where we're.
So obviously concerns.
Yeah.
And for a 5-year-old to be very descriptive about that, obviously concerns, right?
Yeah.
Charlotte is asked to speak with investigators away from her children, and she's finally told what's going on.
We got reports that the child made some allegations against your husband.
Okay.
These allegations stemmed from him showing her videos of children performing on himself.
What?
Within the allegations also said that he performed on her. Yes.
When?
Yesterday.
I wasn't around. I was at the hospital with my grandma.
Is very intelligent, it seems like. She's very articulate in the way she speaks. She came in today and talked about these incidents that happened between you and her, and she was very descriptive in those incidents. She described things that you did to her, and she described images that she saw on your phone.
There's definitely.
So here's how I look at
it. Get his phone, bro!
Explain why she would be saying those things, and then we can kind of move past those things.
I don't know.
Shut up.
And I'm telling you,
you've been caught, you dickhead. You've been caught.
Exactly.
It doesn't explain anything to me. Okay, so the reason your kids are here is because said that when he showed her pictures, it was definitely him, and he was laying on a bed, and there was another child doing this to him.
What?
So obviously we're concerned.
What?
There's a possibility that he's doing this to
one of my kids?
Well, we don't know that for sure, but that's why we want you to come down here. That's why we don't want you guys together, because we don't know your relationship with Chris. Obviously, we think that you're going to be a mother that protects and does.
Oh my God, yes.
So
I really don't know. I mean, we're sure she's talking about me.
I'm 100% positive. We did some research on Chris, and there's some incidents that occurred at 2 different Walmarts.
There was one a long time ago, like before we even had kids.
Yeah.
That there was an allegation against it, but nothing ever came of it.
Yeah.
I was on a women's retreat.
Wait. So there's an allegation of him doing something with kids, and you're still with this man. Let me get that straight. So there's an allegation of him doing 2 allegations of him doing something with kids, and you were still with this guy.
And you had kids with him.
Remember that, because I remember that investigation, and nothing ever came out of it.
There was one, so that was down in Miami.
No, that was at this Walmart.
So that's something that obviously shows pattern of this, where he exposed himself to children. And I know there wasn't an arrest made or anything like that, but obviously some concerns there.
When he was first detained, Chris mentioned a previous arrest.
Have you ever been arrested before or anything? Once before in Canton, Michigan. Oh, really? I had my kid in the car and I ran into the store. My parents always did. Well, you don't want to do that anymore. But I got released and it wasn't anything. They didn't push any charges or anything.
Whether or not this is the same incident is unclear. Either way, it's becoming undeniable that Chris is leaving something out of his story.
I know you've been involved in incidents where you were a suspect, where children were involved.
The man, there was one
So
my father.
here's what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying now.
So I don't want to work around possibilities or movies or anything like that. I don't want you to worry about what's going to happen. I want you to understand. When I ask you a question, I want the honest truth. Okay? That's what you need to push out now, because right now we're in a situation where what's going on?
Yeah, and I don't know. And at this point, honestly, I want a lawyer because I don't know what I'm being set up with here, and this don't
set up
normal to me.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, it isn't normal, you idiot.
Something's really off.
What's going to happen right now is that we're doing a residential search warrant on your house.
It isn't normal, you
On your
dumbass.
vehicle. You're being arrested for capital battery on a 5-year-old. Okay. And you're going to be also charged with showing a minor videos. Okay. So that's his situation right now.
So my phone, you can check it. It's just not on.
Okay.
Check it.
Of course, my phone's dead.
That's the situation that we're in now. Okay.
All right.
Chris claims his phone is currently broken because earlier that weekend he dropped it in water.
Chris is arrested for.
Oh, yeah, right.
Battery.
Check his
He
phone.
went to the Manatee County Jail.
Did he say anything? Like, did he admit anything? Like, what did he say?
Once confronted about some of the lies that he started, he asked for an attorney.
What?
So he did like to talk to me for a little bit, but then once I started confronting, then he asked for an attorney. So
Tell the why would he do this to our kids?
so here's what we're gonna do now, okay? We're gonna talk to each of your children separately.
Okay.
Obviously, we would very much hope so that nothing has happened to your children, and that these videos are something that you found possibly, and that's kind of where we're at this situation. Okay.
Can I call my wife?
No, you're not. No, no.
How do I get a hold?
She doesn't want to talk to you, bro. She doesn't want to talk to you.
We're doing an investigation with her and your children also. Okay.
Okay.
So that's why you can't call them.
I got you.
Okay.
All right.
Any suspicion that he would be any bit remotely involved in any of this?
No, not at all.
What do you mean, bro? There are two allegations. What the f do you mean? There are two fucking allegations. Sorry, relax with the swears.
He's right, though. He's right.
You just tell him a big up.
Well,
Why would he do this to her?
I don't have an explanation for that.
Please tell me they're okay.
So let's go talk to the kids. You can hang out here if you need anything.
I need a water.
Okay.
Something.
I'll get you that for sure.
Charlotte had called her father to join them at the sheriff's office, and as the detective gets ready to speak with her 3 kids, her father is brought in to wait with her.
Okay. Oh, so this is a daddy-daughter?
Huh?
What's going on?
What?
What's wrong? Not like you.
Your
What?
parents, man. Parents are the best, man. Aww.
It's not okay. It's not okay.
We'll get through it together. What's wrong?
Supposedly yesterday at the birthday party.
Oh, back up. Slow down. What happened?
Supposedly yesterday at the birthday party,
Okay.
Chris took her girl upstairs and explicitly performed, supposedly,
and showed her pictures on a phone. I'm like, well, I don't know how that's possible because the phone is on the kitchen table in a bag of rice. It doesn't work.
The confusion here stems from the fact that there are two different incidents, one occurring a year ago and the other yesterday. The 5-year-old stated that the incident with the images on Chris's phone was a year ago during a trip.
How do I tell the kids that their father's not coming home? How do I tell the kids that our marriage is done? I asked, what did he say when you asked him? And he said he started to answer questions and then he shut down and said, get me a lawyer. And I'm like, that's it, we're done. You only say that if you're guilty. You don't say that. I've got nothing to hide in our house. Go through our house. I don't care. You only say that if you're hiding something.
That's not necessarily true. Okay, let me ask you this. You remember the time
They brought up the Walmart incident.
they know about it?
Yeah, they know about it.
So it's still on.
It's still on file that he was supposedly involved. I'm like, well, they cleared him from everything and nothing ever happened from it.
Earlier during Chris's interview, the detective had attempted to discuss this topic with him.
Have you had anything in the past that you've had any issues with stuff like this?
No, and that's what I'm saying. This whole videos with kids things and all this.
So he's lying.
Have you ever been questioned by anybody?
No.
About incidents that have occurred that referred to it with children?
No.
No, you're lying. You sick. You sick.
You lie now. You fucking idiot.
And so
You could lie.
What caused the problem?
Right, but that's not why.
Lie once and then everything is taken as lie.
Gets flagged because there's another Christopher Lee Thompson born on that has a criminal record, not him.
While he didn't discuss.
So what are the coincidences of a guy called Christopher Thompson being born on the same day as another Christopher Lee Thompson? What are the coincidences of that? Same day, same year, same everything. And what one's on the SA list?
That's the Walmart incident. During his initial arrest.
Oh
Chris
shit,
mentioned the
I guess they're
issues
moving
he
a
has
flock,
with his
huh?
name.
I have at least one felon that has my name that flags me, like when I go to my kid's school, that they have to verify the picture. So it's like I keep finding myself in the middle of this stuff, you know, and then I have to prove that it's me. And then once I do, then it's, oh, okay, sorry.
Though it's never clarified what exactly happened at the Walmart, Charlotte and her father discussed the allegation that something occurred while their family was on a trip to Georgia with some of their neighbors, including the 5-year-old victim's family.
Supposedly it happened when we were in Helen, and I said that's absolutely not true because I was with them 100% of the time. When we went to Georgia for the kids, like the neighbor trip, supposedly it happened when we were in Georgia.
This girl loves saying supposedly. She said supposedly like 5 times, bro. That's lack of vocabulary right there. But then again, I say bruv all the time. I need to stop saying bruv. You know what? From now on, any video I do in the comments, just do a bruv counter. Because I read comments, so that will help me stop saying bruv. Not this video, but any others. Anytime, how many times I say bruv, just tell me. Because I read comments, so yeah.
Two.
This happened way back then?
That was one, and then this was the second one.
To the same child?
Supposedly.
Bruv! Stop saying that word!
I can 100% attest that it didn't happen in Georgia because I was there the whole time.
The trip also came up in Chris's interview.
During that time period, did anything ever happen that would cause me to be involved?
No.
Okay. So I'm specifically talking about. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Did anything happen with her, or did you show her anything, or
Yes.
talk to her about anything, or do anything with while you're on vacation, and then the same type of situation that possibly happened yesterday?
No, not
Yes.
anything bad. No.
Okay. Anything good?
Yes, we had fun with kids on vacation. That's what I'm saying.
Anything good?
Until we know the facts. If he says, yes, I did it, then you know. But if he says, Charlotte, I'm innocent and can look.
Well, anybody can say that. I'm not bailing him out until I have an answer.
A few answers were provided by the Thompsons' 3 children. Investigators began with the couple's 11-year-old son.
You feel safe when you're at home with school?
Yeah.
Okay. Has anybody ever touched you in a way that wasn't good? Or asked you to touch them?
Nope.
No. Okay.
The 7-year-old shared a similar story.
Do you feel safe when you're at home?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Have you ever seen anything on any phone or any kind of tablet or anything like that that's not something that you shouldn't see? No. Okay.
While waiting for the Thompsons' 5-year-old, the interviewer and CPS worker discussed the troubling case among themselves.
Is it rare that they do that to their own children, or is it
usually pretty
keep it away from her family life?
That, and she might have thought it was him in the videos. Could have been somebody else. I guess you had doubt me through that.
Whoa. Well, you're a lot more clumsier than your sister.
Hey,
Hey, girl.
how are you?
Welcome. You want to have a seat?
Right here. I like your
Did he make you run here?
Has anybody ever shown you anything that made you feel uncomfortable or that wasn't good to look at?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Who showed you?
My dad.
Your dad. Do you
What?
remember what he showed you?
He showed me a boy that looked scary.
Really? What did he look like?
He had like a bad, weird face.
Why did your dad show you that?
I don't know. He just showed us, and I'm like, I don't want to see that.
You didn't like it?
No.
Has he ever shown you anything else that isn't good to look at?
Nope.
No.
Just that.
Okay.
After speaking with the children, the interviewer and detective returned to talk with Charlotte, reassuring her that they don't suspect Chris ever did anything inappropriate with their children. There was, however, another previous incident they hadn't discussed yet.
So there was a report in 2009, February of 2009, at like a Target. Do you recall anything about that?
We got married in December of 2008, and we moved to Dayton, Ohio that June, but I don't know anything about.
So no police report or anything like that that you...
No.
Because the allegations of the one in Hialeah
Wait,
in
what?
2009 are similar to the allegations of the Walmart incident where he was
I
exposed.
have no clue about Target. Never heard of it.
As Charlotte can't provide any clarity about this other potential incident, the detective discusses what will happen now that Chris has been arrested.
So a big hit will be notification through media, because you're gonna have that.
What do you mean?
With the charge that he's gonna be pushed, it's gonna be like a news release and all that stuff.
Wait.
Not saying necessarily, but they can release it in the media. Okay, so just be aware of that. You might get some phone
I
calls.
thought they couldn't do that involving a minor.
When the suspect is a minor.
Did that.
When a suspect is a minor, that's different. So they won't release the victim's name, but they'll release his.
So they're gonna drag my family through the mud.
According to official documents, while conducting the search warrant and viewing electronic items located within the Thompsons' residence, investigators found images on an SD card. The images led them to speak with another of Chris's neighbors and inquire if any of her children wore tight camouflage shorts. The neighbor confirmed that her 12-year-old daughter did. When questioned, the child explained that she routinely goes over to Chris's house to hang out with his children. She said that Chris never made inappropriate comments or touched her in a way that made her feel uncomfortable. However, the images on Chris's SD card were of a child wearing camouflage shorts and were close-ups of her buttocks.
So then playing what ifs. What if he didn't do it? Then is there like an apology? Records are fixed? Like, does that ever happen?
So right now, the evidence that we have are based upon a little girl that is making some pretty serious allegations, right?
Right.
We also have one of the other girls saying that she went into the room with him. Okay, so that's kind of cooperating with this. And then we also have past incidents where he was showing behavior.
I understand there's some other incident, but she doesn't want to believe this.
Exposing himself.
It's hard to believe, bro. You can't. You've been married to this person for like how long? Like 15 years.
Than not. The parents didn't come forward and say, "Hey, I saw them doing this." The little girl did. She made full disclosures. There's no reason for her to make these disclosures unless the incidents occur.
Law enforcement also discovered Chris possessed nearly 20,000 images of child abuse material, and he had produced his own child abuse material with several different victims, all 13 years old or younger. Throughout the course of the investigation,
What?
several of Chris's victims were identified and were completely unaware of his actions. According to official documents, Chris has a history going back to 2010, touching and filming young juvenile females. Chris Thompson was charged with lewd or lascivious by a person over 18 years of age upon a child less than 12 years of age. Lewd or lascivious by a person over 18 years of age upon a child 12 years of age or older, but less than 16 years of age.
What?
A second-degree felony, and 2 counts of video voyeurism. He pled guilty and was sentenced to a total of 50 years in a state prison. In a federal case, Chris was also charged with 3 counts of coercing a minor to engage in any explicit conduct for the purpose of producing a visual depiction and transmitting the visual depiction. He was also charged with 1 count of knowingly possessing matters which contained a visual depiction of a minor engaging in explicit conduct. Chris entered a plea of guilty to counts 1 and 3. Counts 2 and 4 were dismissed in accordance with the plea agreement. He was sentenced to 60 years in prison, which will run concurrent with his other sentence. Once released, he will be supervised for the rest of his life.
Oh, mate, you're a sick mother. Oh, wow. Good. 60 years. I'm pretty sure that means he's gonna die in prison, no? Right? I have no clue. But good. Sick. Sick individual. Wow. Well, I always end these pissed off. Oh, anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Take care. Come through fighting, I sent him Shanghai. Right hook, tell a man bye-bye. Floyd, I gave him a black eye. I'm Hello friends, hi, I'm in JJ's crib again. Gideon just uploaded, we're about to watch it. Bro, I can't lie, I love his channel, I love it. I'm literally going to America in September, dead ass, to do something like this, alright? You think I'm joking? I've booked my ticket and everything. Like, bro, I want to catch a nonce.
Fuck, I'm Wood Division, you're Silver. Oh, I see your elo went down. Hold on.
Yeah, I came back. She was on the couch. I'm like, babe. I was shaking and her head was going. I'm like, wait.
Shaking my head.
Got slapped. And I'm like, oh,
This is Rowan Hansen, and this is Andrew McGann. 2 crimes, 2 killers, and 2 forests that will never feel the same again. In the heart of the Ozarks lies the Devil's Den, a stunning state park with a name that now feels hauntingly accurate. It was here that a family's peaceful camping trip ended in bloodshed at the hands of Andrew McGann, a man with dark fantasies that nobody seemed to know about. Meanwhile, across the world and in Australia's vast wilderness, a peaceful romantic getaway became a nightmare when Rowan Hansen unleashed his rage on the woman that he claimed to love. And it all happened deep in the Bulga Forest and inside a lonely cabin which was known as the Witch's Hut, another name that has since turned out to be chillingly suitable. It is hard to believe that either of these stories are real. However, the woods can indeed be a terrifying place, especially when no one can hear you scream for help.
Yup, true.
Welcome back to Coffee House Crime.
Thank you.
My name is Adrian, and today I have not 1 but 2 horrifying stories for you. From America to Australia, we're traveling from deep within the Devil's Den to the 4 walls of the Witch's Hut. And as it turns out, both of these terrible crimes happened within state national parks. So I suppose this video is kind of all about being careful when you venture into the woods. By the way, I post videos here weekly, and so if that does sound like your kind of thing, then please do consider subscribing, as it really does help the channel out. And now, with that said, please get comfortable, grab yourself a coffee, and let's caffeinate while we investigate. This first story is the case of Andrew McGann.
See? It's a duo case. That's nice.
Welcome to the Devil's Den, folks. Nestled deep in the Ozark Mountains of northwest Arkansas lies a beautiful place called the Devil's Den State Park. Spanning over 2,500 acres of rugged terrain, its trails twist through thick forests, winding caves, and ancient limestone crevices. This is the place where wildlife is abundant. The sun filters softly through the canopy, and the air carries that clean.
I know, I have it. Skyblock has it.
Can easily drop below freezing.
Skyblock always had it.
Into an icy forest. Now, this place is already remote, but in the winter, it's even more isolating. People often stay indoors for warmth instead.
Did you just...
With the darker nights, colder days,
the
and
fuck?
a sense of general lethargy, health does naturally dip over the winter, both physically and mentally.
What just happened?
And honestly, it makes sense. Every winter, I seem to catch something, whether it's a cold, fatigue, or just the general feeling that my body's running low on battery. And I have to admit to you, I have definitely done the midnight doom scroll too. And look, I know that you know exactly
Doom
what
scroll?
I'm talking about here. The one where you're googling slight cough and half an hour later, you're convinced it's the end of the world. You know what I find quite funny? We seem to have mastered using our phones to diagnosing our own doom, but not to actually see a doctor. And so, imagine this instead. Instead of doom scrolling and self-diagnosing, you simply open your phone, find a real and network doctor who's available tomorrow, and they're actually the right fit for you. And that's the magic of this video's sponsors.
Oh my
Doc,
god,
because
you
there are no
fucking
office
devious
hours
adder.
and no delays.
Okay, but
Simply a
here's the
few
thing though.
clicks and boom,
That doesn't
you're all
work.
booked
Chicago 01 doesn't
before
work.
your head hits that
Chicago...
pillow. ZocDoc is a free website where you can easily
Chicago
search, compare,
03?
and book high-quality and network doctors, so you can find the one that actually feels
Nope.
right for you.
Okay.
Whether you're looking for
Chicago
someone
02?
nearby, in-network, or who has openings soon, ZocDoc helps you find them fast and with no guesswork or phone calls needed. And with more than 100,000 providers across nearly every specialty, ranging from mental health to dentistry, eye care, or skincare, and everything in between, you can also see their appointment times, read verified reviews, and instantly book to a time that suits you. In fact, most happen within 24 to 72 hours, sometimes even the same day. Genuinely, I love ZocDoc's entire concept, and I am so glad to see that some of you have been using it since my last sponsor, because honestly, it just makes adulting a little bit easier. And next time I'm in the US, which by the way will be next year, more on that another time, I will be sure to use ZocDoc when I need a doctor. So, stop waiting, stop guessing, and start getting the care that you need.
Because Chicago is just cooked right now, hello?
And instantly book a top-rated doctor today. Because sure, some mysteries are worth diving into alone, but your health shouldn't be one of them. Now let's get straight back into this video.
It's every Chicago server down, are you serious?
Now, of course,
no
names
way,
can be
bro.
deceiving, but sometimes they are spot on.
Chicago,
and for
bro.
all of its peace and tranquility, the Devil's Den does, in fact, unfortunately, hold up to its name today. Because on a warm July afternoon in 2025, this paradise became the scene of something absolutely horrific. At around 2:40 p.m, hikers walking along one of its trails were startled by the sounds of screams. They reported hearing frantic and desperate cries echoing through the trees. And so, moments later, they called the Arkansas State Police and requested support immediately.
Cover the main trail right now first.
Okay. I'll just go to St. Louis, I don't know, bro. I think I found out St. Louis is the closest to the servers that isn't Chicago. I think. So I'll just be in St. Louis, I guess.
Park rangers raced towards the area, not yet realizing the horror that was waiting for them nearby. Eventually, they found two young girls who had since found help from nearby hikers. With tears streaked across their faces, they were both terrified and pleading for help. Help to save both their mum and their dad. Because, as it turns out, what began as
where did my Slayer go? No way, you made me waste 96,000 coins, bro. You're disappointing my Slayer.
Deep among the trees, park rangers found two young girls, just 7 and 9 years old. They were quite visibly shaking, with tears streaked across their face. They were hardly able to speak about what they'd just experienced only a few minutes prior. They'd been hiking in the woods with their parents when, all of a sudden, something terrible happened. And the thing is, this wasn't the kind of danger that you'd usually expect from the woods either, because this wasn't a bear or a snake, but something far worse. It was human. According to the girls, their family had just been ambushed when, all of a sudden, a stranger with a knife appeared out of nowhere.
Why?
He first attacked their father, and then that is when all chaos broke loose. Within those frantic moments, their mother made one final selfless act. She pushed both of her daughters away and told them to run. She then turned around and ran back towards the danger, yelling at her daughters one final time to run as far as possible. And so that is precisely what they did. But heartbreakingly, after running for a minute or two, they turned around and neither of their parents had followed. And that is when both of them realized that they were now truly and utterly alone in this big expanse of woodland with a killer on the loose.
Holy shit.
Somewhere along the rugged
Is
trail,
it actually a
the
real
sisters
story?
would
What the
finally
fuck?
encounter other hikers. Distressed, sobbing, and clearly in shock, they told them that their parents were being attacked. And so, realizing the urgency of the situation, these strangers thankfully led the girls out to safety. After the girls were led out to safety, one of those hikers did something that only few would dare. He turned around and then walked back towards the danger, in a valiant attempt to save their parents. Venturing deeper into the woods, he then stumbled across a scene that would haunt him forever, because soon enough, he found both Clinton and Kristen lying on the ground, brutally stabbed and barely clinging to life. As you probably have guessed, Devil's Den is extraordinarily remote, and in those woods, cell service is basically non-existent. The hiker had no choice but to climb back towards higher ground, in a desperate attempt to try and reach signal and then call for help. However, by the time the authorities were alerted and first responders managed to find Clinton and Kristen, it was tragically all too late. Just half a mile from the nearest trailhead, they found both of them lifeless on the ground, each having suffered multiple stab wounds.
Holy,
it was a scene that was so chaotic and heartbreaking,
insanely strong
seasoned
woman.
Professionals were shocked.
She really pushed her kids away
Here felt so
and went back to the danger to distract them.
Detectives arriving on the scene would later piece together what they believe had happened. It appeared that the attacker had first targeted Clinton, before then turning on Kristen, and due to the defensive wounds found on both of their hands, the two parents had fought back fiercely, clearly in a desperate attempt to try and protect their daughters. Interestingly, they seemed to have found a third set of DNA too, which was probably left behind by the attacker and indicated that he too was likely wounded in the struggle. And although no results came back after running this DNA through both national and state databases, it was still a vital piece of evidence.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Devil's Den State Park, where Arkansas State Police are investigating a double homicide. A man and a woman were found dead on the trail this afternoon, and tonight a search is underway for their alleged killer. 5 News has confirmed ASP's Criminal Investigation Division is leading the case, and a heavy law enforcement presence remains at the state park as the investigation continues. The suspect in the double homicide is described as a white man of an unknown age.
Is that
colored shorts, a dark tank top,
isn't that J. Cole Place?
Gloves.
Oh man.
Witnesses
Come
say
on,
he
bro.
was driving toward a park exit at Devil's Den in a black 4-door sedan, possibly a Mazda, with a license plate covered up by duct or electrical tape.
Tragically, both Clinton and Kristen would lose their lives on that trail. Quite simply, their injuries were too severe to survive, and they spent their final moments defending each other and their daughters. Now, I'd like you to put yourself in their shoes for a moment here and
This
think
is so
about
crazy.
how terrifying this must have been for them.
Yeah.
Knowing that your body is giving up and you're probably about to die, but not knowing if your partner and children are safe. I mean, the sheer terror, anger, and heartbreak that both Clinton and Kristen must have experienced in their final moments is absolutely unfathomable. However, and with thanks to their bravery, both of their daughters would not only survive, but also come out of this physically unharmed. As word of the double homicide spread through Arkansas, its citizens were both horrified and furious by the news. I mean, how could anyone do something so horrible to this innocent family? This is the kind of story that comes straight out of a horror movie, but the thing is, this was reality. And of course, 2 haunting questions emerged. Who could have done this? And why?
Exactly. Thank you.
Now, before we get to that question, who precisely were the victims of this senseless attack? Because Clinton and Kristen Brink were not just
amazing
names in the
parents.
headline. They were people just like you and me. It
Yeah,
turns
great
out
parents.
that the Brink family had only recently moved to Arkansas, looking for new opportunities and
Wow.
a fresh start for their family. Full of hope and wonder, they had recently settled into the quiet city of Prairie Grove, only a short drive away from Devil's Den. In fact, the family had tragically only just moved here, with their newfound connection with the waters of the Ozarks being barely 2 weeks old. Looking back, it is easy to imagine their excitement for the summer ahead. exploring their new
So
surroundings.
they just moved
taking
there
in the
and
rolling
got killed
Ozark Hills,
when
and
trying to
introducing their
explore.
daughters to the beauty of all the trails nearby. For Clinton and Kristen, Arkansas was supposed to mark the very beginning of a new chapter, not the end of their story. Clinton, who was 43 years old, was a devoted husband and father, and was described by friends as both hardworking and kind. He was only a few days away from starting a new job as a milk delivery driver, with his first day scheduled for the Monday after that fateful weekend. And Kristen, who was 41 years old, was a tender and compassionate nurse, licensed in both Montana and South Dakota, and planning to continue her medical career in Arkansas. Family members described them as inseparable loving parents, who shared an unshakable bond with each other and both of their daughters. They were active in their faith, ready to become involved in their community, and loved spending time outdoors.
So they're just
It is
very
heartbreaking to
good
think
normal
that the
parents,
Arkansas
man.
chapter of their lives would
Great
end
family.
almost as soon as it began. The dreams they carried, settling into a new home, starting new jobs, and watching their daughters grow up should have been a beautiful time for the family. But instead, they were ripped apart in an instant. In the words of those who knew them best, Clinton and Kristen died as heroes. The outpouring of grief from Prairie Grove and beyond was overwhelming, and friends, neighbors, and even strangers alike all struggled to comprehend how something so cruel and senseless could happen. And so, as the community mourned, investigators turned their focus back to that single urgent question. Who was responsible? In the immediate aftermath of the tragedy, detectives were faced with the chilling reality that somewhere out there, a killer was in the Ozark wilderness. So, who was their suspected killer? Well, both children described an unknown man, so police knew it was likely a guy. And although evidence at the crime scene was quite limited, investigators found one crucial piece of information: traces of blood that did not belong to either of the victims. Which, to be honest, outside of surveillance footage, is probably the best thing you could find. And then came another lead, because it turns out that one of the hikers on the trail at the time recalled seeing a man urgently walking away from the scene, and he also had blood on his face. The Arkansas State Police quickly mobilized, and within 24 hours, they had a potential photo of their suspect.
Why did he not attack him
had a
then?
good gut feeling
With
that
this
this was
family.
the actual man they were looking for. This photo, which was taken by an alert hiker, showed a man from behind and standing among the trees, with a backpack slung over his shoulders. And although his face wasn't visible, the image offered a glimpse of his build and his clothing. Meanwhile, the composite sketch, which was based off of witness descriptions, depicted a Caucasian male of medium build and ordinary enough to blend into any crowd. However, it was his clothing that stood out. Witnesses described him wearing a long-sleeved shirt with the sleeves rolled up, dark
Well, they can
pants,
find where
a black
all of this
baseball
was
cap,
bought.
sunglasses,
Idiot.
a black backpack,
They can all be
and
tracked down.
notably,
Where
fingerless
this was
gloves.
all from.
And interestingly enough, all of these details matched the blood-covered suspect that one of the hikers had seen. That same suspect was then later seen leaving the area in a black four-door sedan, possibly a sporty model, and with its license plate partially covered up with tape, which also sounded extraordinarily suspicious. And of course, when you wrap all of these details together, they describe someone who was prepared, cautious, deliberate, and trying to remain anonymous. As this photo and sketch hit the news, public alarm just basically exploded. The idea that this random killer had struck a family in the middle of a park terrified Arkansas. Rumors spread online like wildfire, and while some believed it was maybe just a robbery gone wrong, others believed it was something far, far darker, like a serial killer who was ready to attack again.
There is a suspect of a homicide
That's fair.
that is at large right now. There's a risk to the community in any community they are in.
For 5 long days, Devil's Den State Park remained closed as the authorities worked around the clock to comb through the forest. They also checked every lead and chased every tip they came across. Soon enough, people were calling in from all across the country. Locals, hikers, and even strangers from out of state all weighed in on this guy. In fact, calls even came as far away as Washington state. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
several park visitors and nearby residents shared their own surveillance footage from around Devil's Den. And when
Nice.
detectives pieced all of these clips together, they believed that their killer had in fact escaped in a black 2022 Kia Stinger. I mean, not
That's
only
an-
did it match witness reports perfectly,
That's a
but
really
it
nice
also
car.
had half of its license plate taped out. And soon enough, they would indeed have a name. After tracing the vehicle's registration plate and sightings, detectives would soon find themselves 30 miles north from Devil's Den and in the small city of Springdale. And only 5 days after the killings, officers spotted the black Kia parked outside of the local barber shop. Now, if this person really was their killer, then it appeared that he was getting a haircut to try and protect his identity. And speaking of haircuts, we will come back to that again soon. But for now, all you need to know is that the man's name was Andrew McGann. As you can see in this surveillance footage, at 1:18 p.m. on July the 30th, 2025, the black sedan pulled up at the local barber shop, and only a few seconds later, our suspect left the driver's seat.
He has
1 minute
bread
later,
too, bro.
he is then sitting down at the barber's chair. But this hairdresser wouldn't get very far, because only 12 minutes later, he was then in cuffs with a half-finished haircut. This person seemed to match the suspect description perfectly, because not only did he have the same build and the same look, but as crucially observed by officers, he also had injuries consistent with the fight that had taken place on that trail. And of course, outside on the parking lot was that black Kia Stinger. Now, despite the massive allegations against him, Andrew cooperated with the officers and even allowed them to search his car. When they finally did, they discovered traces of blood inside of the vehicle, and within 24 hours, DNA testing confirmed that the blood found inside his car matched that found at the crime scene, both of which obviously belonging to him. With Andrew's
Dumbass.
blood found in the vehicle, and both the vehicle and his blood being attached to the crime scene, it made it almost impossible to deny his involvement. Faced with all of this evidence, Andrew even allegedly confessed to the officers, outright admitting to them that he had actually stabbed both Clinton and Kristen to death. And so, with that said, the manhunt was now finally over. However, bigger questions emerged instead. For example, who was Andrew James McCann? What could have driven him to such savagery?
Damn, he's a
And
demon.
why does his hair look like a packet of dry ramen noodles? Just a heads up here, but remember that Andrew's middle name is James. I'll tell you why later. Now, on the surface, Andrew seemed like an unlikely suspect in this scenario. He was a former school teacher, 28 years old, and well educated. I mean, ironically, this sounds exactly like the case of Scott Beerley. Andrew also had no criminal record and no documented history of mental
Why?
illness. He had recently moved to Arkansas after being hired as a teacher by Springdale Public Schools, the same district that covered the Devil's Den area, which technically could have meant that eventually he would have even become the teacher of their daughters. As an additional side note
What the
here, he had
fuck?
already passed every background check and was ready to begin teaching that fall. This means that, by all accounts, Andrew was an ordinary educator with teaching certifications in Arkansas,
What
Texas, and Oklahoma. He was literally spotless across the board. No infractions, no suspensions, nothing. However,
What
as
happened?
the police and reporters alike began to dig deeper, cracks slowly began to show. Former colleagues and parents in Texas remembered Andrew differently. He was known to be awkward, withdrawn, and difficult to connect with. And although he had taught 4th graders at an elementary school in Flower Mound in 2023, things did not end well. Earlier that spring, he was placed on administrative leave following several complaints about his behavior. That included poor classroom management, questionable professional judgment, and what some parents described as favoritism toward certain students. In fact, he even had complaints against him after tickling his students, which, yet again, sounds eerily similar to the case of Scott Beerley. And so, under growing pressure, Andrew eventually resigned, and rightfully so. But unfortunately, he would then briefly resurface in Oklahoma school, only to resign again in May of 2025. Of course, before then making the decision to move to Arkansas. Looking back at all of this, there were subtle signs of instability, but nothing pointed towards violence. On
Yeah,
paper,
exactly.
he was just a teacher, but in reality, he had become something else entirely.
What?
With so much evidence against him, Andrew was charged with 2 counts of capital murder, and prosecutors made it clear that they would be seeking the death penalty. And by the way, just to be clear here, he is still yet to have his trial. For now, he is just being held without bond. But I also have to make it clear here that the evidence against him is quite simply overwhelming. I mean, we have his blood at the crime scene, his clothing and his car matching witness reports and surveillance footage, and even a confession he made to officers. I really don't think he's coming back from this one. However, I could be wrong, so let's just watch this space. And as you may have guessed, after lawyering up, Andrew has officially retracted his confession, and has now pleaded not guilty to both counts of capital murder. And of course, this is where the hard part begins, because it might take a few years to find justice, and to make things even more frustrating, the authorities are even considering a gag order. So this might be it for a while. Now, personally, I find gag orders to be extremely frustrating. For example, I really wanted to cover the case of Ali Abulaban, but that order made finding accurate information incredibly difficult. I mean, that's one of the reasons, the other being that it's already way overcooked on YouTube. Another question that remains here is why? Why would a 28-year-old teacher with no criminal record, no known mental illness, and no connection to the victims just suddenly murder a random couple? As of October of 2025, the authorities admit that they still don't know his motive. Investigators are still retracing Andrew's final days and piecing together his movements in hopes of finding a clue. Because, quite simply, Andrew hasn't said anything. Ever since lawyering up, his statements remain sealed, and officials refuse to speculate. Whatever the truth may be, the lack of motive makes this tragedy even more frustrating. 2 loving parents were murdered, and yet nobody can explain why. As one official put it,
This is so
no
weird.
family should ever have to endure this, and until the answer to why is found, the shadows of Devil's Den will continue to linger.
We were able to take a monster off the streets and bring relief to Clinton and Kristen's precious girls. And to the rest of citizens of Arkansas.
We're still exploring and determining exactly what that motive was, so it'd be a little premature for us to speak on that tonight.
What we do know is that Clinton and Kristen died protecting their daughters, giving up both of their lives so that their girls could carry on. Their 2 young daughters are now being raised by their relatives and are surrounded by love as they face a long road of healing. They will grow up remembering their parents' courage and, of course, their unimaginable loss. In the wake of their deaths, the community's response was extraordinary. Vigils filled the night with candlelight and prayer, and fundraisers poured in over $80,000 to support the girls. Friends and strangers alike all rallied behind the family, and it's clear that they have a good support system in motion. And as for Andrew, he still remains in custody while he waits for his trial. And of course, with 2 counts of capital murder under his belt, he could possibly face the death penalty. Again, the evidence against Andrew is quite simply overwhelming, and so I see no reason why
pleading
not
not guilty is also going to just up the sentence when you find
we won't know
guilty.
until the verdict is read out.
It's just stalling our
I
time.
think it's quite obvious. And if I'm wrong, well, I'll leave my shoe. Devil's Den State Park has since reopened, but locals say it feels different now. The forest still stands to be both peaceful and beautiful, but others say that it feels haunted. In the end, this case is a brutal reminder that life can change in an instant, and if there's anything else that this story can teach us, is that even in beautiful places, evil can happen. I mean, there's that reason, but also, I had no idea the devil had ramen hair. Right, so our next story takes place in another forest in Australia, and so on that note,
Devil has
please grab
ramen
yourself
hair.
another
Okay, bro.
coffee,
Shut
because
up.
this is the case of Rowan Hansen.
Okay.
Welcome to Australia, folks. Found around 45 miles west of Port Macquarie in New South Wales lies Bulga Forest. Now, as someone who loves rainforests and woodlands, Bulga looks absolutely incredible. It forms part of the Birrawal-Bulga National Park and is covered with rugged foothills, steep ravines,
Another
and high
park?
elevations. Dense eucalyptus trees tower over narrow dirt tracks, and on cloudy days, light will barely filter through the canopy. It is eerily silent here, save for the wind and the distant rush of water through the valleys. Once home to ancient Aboriginal pathways, Bulga Forest is now a patchwork of state forest and protected national park. It is breathtakingly beautiful, yet profoundly isolating all the same, and it's the kind of place where sometimes secrets will stay buried forever. As you can see on the satellite image, it is a very dense forest, and includes locations like the Bluff Lookout, Bulga Cemetery, and Blue Knob Lookout. And just a word of advice for anyone thinking about walking in this area, but please don't go telling all of your friends that you spent all afternoon up Blue Knob. They will probably look at you funny, or at least suspect that you have some sort of Smurf fetish. It was at 10:45 a.m. on the morning of September 18th, 2021, that a harrowing phone call was made to the authorities. The caller pleaded for help in the forest, and it came from a remote location only known as the Witch's Hut, a building that only a select few officers knew about. For reasons unknown, both state police and the media seemed to try to keep this place buried, but through my research, it seems that the Witch's Hut can be found here, placed along Pole Dump Road and near Old Blue Knob Road. The cabin that they called the Witch's Hut was an old logger's outpost, basically a one-room shack with a tin roof and a brick chimney, which had long been abandoned and slowly reclaimed by the bush. Its windows are broken, the wooden walls are covered in graffiti, and the forest was slowly encroaching on it. To many of us, this place feels quite creepy, but to some adventurers and probably other unsavory folk, it was used as a hideaway. The area around the hut was remote and rugged, with towering eucalyptus trees surrounding the clearing, and at nighttime it gets a whole lot worse, as the entire forest is swallowed in darkness. If you don't have a phone or a flashlight, the moon is your only source of light here. There are no facilities, no electricity, and the trees make it difficult to obtain any sort of phone signal. That means that if trouble arises here, you're basically on your own. And of course, to some people, that actually is part of the appeal. It's a chance to disconnect from the world and leave all of your troubles behind. However, in this instance, that one trouble was right there with her. This phone call came from a man named Rowan James Hanson, who dialed 000 and was both frantic and desperate. And when the operator picked up, he simply said, "There's no reviving her." Now, remember I mentioned Andrew's middle name being James? Well, it turns out that Rowan had the same middle name too. Of course, it's just a coincidence, but still, I always find these details to be rather strange. When he said that there was no chance of reviving her, Rowan was talking about his long-term girlfriend named Dee. The two were supposed to be camping that week, but it turns out that would actually be her last night alive. He claimed that earlier that night, the two were driving down this dirt road around 2 miles away from the cabin when all of a sudden they accidentally crashed, leaving Dee severely injured. He then told the operator that after leaving his girlfriend at the Witch's Hut, he then sought to find help, only returning later to find that she had passed away from her injuries.
Bro, it's
In
perfect
other words,
irritation.
Rowan was presenting himself as this panicked partner who was trying to save his girlfriend in the middle of a forest without any reception. Believing what he was saying,
I already have
the
this
operator
one.
then dispatched both police
I dropped
and
it on all the
paramedics
accounts.
to the scene. However, with this place being so remote,
I need
it would
this
take
and
them
this
up
though.
to 3 hours to arrive. And let's just say that, by the time they got there, police realized that the story Rowan had created was not quite adding up.
And basically, this can give both of them, so it's literally perfect
When
timing.
help finally arrived,
This
they
is the
walked
dice on
straight
this
into
profile.
a haunting scene. Found just outside of the small hut was Dee's body. She was motionless and lying on the ground. And based on the positioning of her body, it appeared as though someone had either carried her or dragged her from inside. Rohan sat weakly on the ground.
Good reverse
repeating the
machine. What
same
the fuck does
story
that mean?
he'd told the operator.
Yeah, I came back and she was on the couch. I'm like, babe. I was shaking and her head was going. I'm like, wait. I gave her
How you got reverse machine? What the fuck does that mean?
He told officers that he and Dee had crashed their car on a nearby track and that her injuries were the results of that crash. He also claimed that he left her at the hut to seek help and
I don't
upon
have
his
Discord.
return, found that she hadn't survived. It was a desperate story and one full of emotion, and on the surface it even sounded plausible. However, something didn't quite sit right with the officers. As police slowly examined the crime scene,
My
they
shit got
noticed
banned,
that
bro.
details began to clash with Rohan's story. Dee's injuries were, put
Oh,
quite
it's just,
simply,
I don't know, I
far
can't
too
log on.
extensive and serious for a low-speed crash. And when looking inside of the hut, well, officers
Bro, I
realized
got AI
that signs
detected.
of violence were everywhere. For example, officers found one of the internal walls to be both splintered and punctured, almost as if someone had been bashed against it multiple times. They also found overturned furniture, evidence of a struggle, and even blood on the sofa. When they looked back at Rohan's story, the investigators simply could not
Because if you send the videos
they began to treat
against
the
terms
site
of
not as
service
a
in a
tragic
public
accident,
Discord,
but as a potential
you get AI
crime scene
detected.
instead.
If you
And
do
from
it in
that moment
DMs,
onwards,
you don't.
Rohan remained firmly in
I
their
literally just got
sights. And when
insta-banned.
they started collecting testimonies and statements from close friends and family, well, that made them all the more suspicious. But before we carry on with this story, who precisely were Rohan and Dee? In the quiet riverside town of Wingham, and tucked away on the mid-north coast of New South Wales, lived Rowan Hansen and Dee Ania. They were known as a couple who loved the simple things in life, including campfires, long drives, and weekends lost in the bush. They had been together since 2017, and from the outside looking in, they were inseparable. Rohan was rugged and outdoorsy, while Dee was warm, spirited, and endlessly kind. Family and friends would often see them going on adventures together, usually camping, fishing, and hiking.
I
And
could
Rohan
make a
and
new
Dee had
Discord, but
long list of
I don't know.
places
I
to
kind of
stay
enjoy
to,
not having Discord. It's
which,
kind
as
of
we
nice.
know, included the witch's hut. To them, this hut was a secret hideaway where they could disappear from the world. And although it technically was a shabby, abandoned old lodge, to them it was a frequent holiday spot where they could drink wine and gaze at the stars in peace together and not worry about anything else in life. However, as we also know, this romantic story and life itself would end with tragedy. And that's because beneath the surface of that love was an
Well, I don't
uncontrolled
understand though.
darkness.
Can't you
Report the
just
couple
claim it on
regularly
Java
arguing,
too though?
which was often fueled by shouting and heavy drinking. It was the kind of volatility that made others uneasy, but Dee would often try to brush it off. She was described by her family as a fun sister with a big heart, the sort of person who gave second chances and believed that people could change. But you see, Rohan, well, Rowan was different.
Do you have the
Those
6-7
closest
badge
to
or
the
no?
couple would later tell detectives some
The
very
6-7
worrying
badge?
details. Many confirmed that their explosive arguments and drunken fights could often be heard from outside of the home. For example, one neighbor claimed to have heard yelling and even the breaking of furniture.
It's if you
and
gift
another
someone
friend
under the
even
chess
claimed to
category,
have seen
or if you
Rowan
sub
stomping
under
on her
to
head.
someone when
Dee's
they're
own mother,
streaming
Caroline,
chess, I
would even
think.
once walk in on him punching her daughter in the face. And another time, he was seen headbutting her in front of her entire family. As you can tell, this guy is practically a waste of oxygen. And it turns out that these were not isolated bursts of anger either. They seemed to be loud, unmistakable, and routine. However, for whatever reason, she stayed. Whether it was out of love, or fear, or that quiet, desperate hope that one day
Bro,
things
you
might
should
get
sub to me
better,
for real, bro.
we will never know. But what's clear
I'll
is
put
that
it on
she was in
chess
deep
really quick.
trouble. And of course, we then get to September of 2021, when both Rowan
Yeah,
and
Sam.
Dee had made plans to return back to the witch's hut. Now, apparently, this was all part of a multi-day camping trip.
Wait,
and they had
they're
plans to
into
stay at the
silk.
witch's
Oh.
hut for one night before then moving on to the next place. And so, before heading out, they loaded up the truck with food, firewood, supplies, and a few beers for good measure. However, that wouldn't last them the night, and so they would buy more along the way. In fact, on the evening before her death, Dee was spotted on the surveillance camera of a nearby servo. She was seen walking through the store and then into the alcohol fridge. While here, she picked up a crate of beer before then walking out and paying. She can then be seen handing the crate of beer to Rohan before then returning to the vehicle. Nothing really seemed to stand out.
It
from
just
this
looks normal.
footage. I mean, they may have acted a little distant to one another, but maybe they were just idly
Ah.
getting on with their tasks. They then drove west and deep into New South Wales, and around 2.5 hours later, they eventually made it to the witch's hut. And the plan that they had that evening was actually quite simple. They wanted
Bunny,
to set up camp, put
that's
some
the
music on, and then drink beers under the stars. Of course, without any reception or anyone bothering them. However, what actually happened that night and over the next 12
Bunny
hours
being
still
Xbox Game
remains a
Studios
mystery.
add-on for my god.
By morning, Dee was dead. In the hours after her discovery, Rowan still clinged to his story. He described the accident over and over again to officers, and it was always the same thing. That he lost control at the wheel, the car crashed, Dee was injured, and then somehow, after making it back to the hut, she passed away. In an effort to try and add weight to his story, he then told the officers where they could find his crashed vehicle, which was only a few miles away from the hut.
I think
And
there's some
after
stuff you can get.
they realized
And
that his truck had a few dents and a broken light, which, of course, was enough to suggest a minor crash. So maybe it did happen.
I'm not too sure
or
though.
Maybe, perhaps, it was
Hey, come on, give me
staged.
something.
When detectives started to piece things
Bro,
together,
how
they
do I
realized
not
that
get a
things did
primordial
not
die
quite
yet?
add up.
Primordial
For
die.
example, if this was really a car accident,
Whatever.
then why didn't he drive the truck straight into town? It wasn't that damaged after all. And even if that was not an option, then why not call for help from the nearest farmhouse?
I need me a
Why,
primordial
out of
die,
all
man.
of the options available,
bro.
would you then decide to return to an isolated cabin in the middle of nowhere? Many of his decisions quite simply made no
That
sense
cabin
to
is
them.
absolutely
However, the
shocked,
most
by the way.
troubling of all of these details were
How did he get
actually
forging
Dee's
40
injuries,
here?
because
There is
they
nothing
were
to
far
forge on
too
this
severe
island.
for the kind of collision
What
that
the
Rowan
fuck?
had described. Things just didn't quite sit right, and the police were beginning to wonder if there was no accident at all. Within 3 days, everything began to fall apart, and on September the 21st of 2021, the police formally arrested Rowan on suspicion of murder. Confronted
Ooh.
with mounting evidence, he caved under the pressure,
I
and
did.
in the interrogation room, he finally admitted that his story was false. He abandoned his former
Oh,
story
shit.
altogether, and instead opted for a different one, this time confessing that an argument had in fact erupted.
Maybe a
His
fishing
girlfriend's
mode that also
injuries were
gives
in
Stranger
fact
XP.
all as a result of him defending himself.
That
According
doesn't
to
exist,
Rowan,
bro.
Dee had apparently attacked him
Oh,
first, after
Jerry
she struck
box.
him over the head with a beer bottle. He also claimed that apparently he reacted instinctively, tackling her into a wall in self-defense. And when she hit her head, he said that was allegedly what killed her. However, detectives were still not buying it because, put quite simply, Rowan's story had changed too often and too quickly. To begin with, he had simply found Dee dead. Next it was a car crash, and then, finally, it was a fight that he hadn't started. These shifting stories made it impossible to believe a word. I mean, Rowan was quite clearly having no issues in lying to the police, or hitting his girlfriend for that matter. And even this new so-called
fun, bro.
confession didn't make much
Wait,
sense either,
he said
because
fish?
it didn't match the evidence left behind. I mean, Dee
Oh.
had so many injuries, and some of them
He
being
actually
so
did say
severe,
fishing.
that this
What the
really
fuck?
could not have been self-defense.
Am I just cooked?
And so,
I'm
on that
absolutely
note,
fried,
let's take a
maybe.
look at the evidence that was
But
left
why
behind.
are you studying at 1 AM, you absolute bum?
The autopsy concluded that Dee had died from blunt force trauma to the head, placing her time of death at around midnight, which was roughly 11 hours before Rowan made his call to emergency services. The medical evidence which was left behind left no doubt that Dee had suffered a long and brutal assault. Her skull was not the only thing that was fractured.
Fucked up, man.
It was also her ribs,
So,
jaw, and nose.
okay,
She also
why are you
received
studying
blows to the
at
chest, which were so
7:37
heavy that
PM?
her lungs were
For
torn,
what?
and bruises were found all over her neck, which were consistent with strangulation. In total, the coroner documented over 100
For what,
separate
bro?
injuries. And I want you to think about that for a moment. 100. All of these injuries included
Final
bruises,
season.
cuts,
Yeah.
and abrasions, which all covered
That's so
her from
boring.
head to toe. This was no simple scuffle that Rowan was trying to claim it to be, and neither was it a moment of moderate violence either, because this was extraordinarily brutal. The scene
Yeah,
inside the
you should
witness
just go
hut
to
told
school
the
instead.
same story. Bloodstains marked the walls and floor, and there was broken furniture.
Studying
scattered
is more fun than
belongings,
Skyblock.
and
I
multiple
mean, yeah, that's
holes
actually kind of fair,
smashed through the
I
plasterboard.
guess.
Meanwhile, Rowan's so-called car crash had
Makes no
already
sense.
fallen apart under scrutiny. There were no skid marks, no crash debris, and no blood inside of the vehicle. And even the dent and broken
Why not?
light seemed staged.
1.31
Once
is
again,
very
the evidence that
good.
was left behind was quite simply overwhelming. It is clear that Dee did not die in an accident. She'd been beaten to death by her partner. The next question that followed was, why? Was this some sort of premeditated killing, or was it drunken
Have you
rage
played
that
26.1
spiraled out
yet
of
or not?
control? Well, sadly, finding the answer to that question would unfortunately take some time, as would justice, because as it turns out, Rowan would go through not one, but 2 trials. His first trial would commence in April of 2024, which was 2.5 years after Dee was murdered. But despite this and several days of deliberation, the jury could not make their mind up, and so they ended in a hung verdict. Which, in legal
No,
terms,
it's
basically means we
26.1.
gave it a go,
It's not
but
1.26.
commitment isn't really our thing. Seriously though, apparently, even with 100
They
bruises,
renamed
a
the
fractured
Minecraft
skull,
versions
and a
to
fake car
26.1.
crash, some of the jury still
26
believed
or
that
something.
maybe she could have slipped. 1 year later, and in July of 2025, Rowan faced a new jury. This time, there was
No,
no
it's just a
confusion,
new
and
system.
after
So
8
like
days of testimony, they
every
returned
time
with a
there's an
verdict.
update,
On
they
July
will
the
use the
16th,
year
2025, Rowan
first.
James
So like
Hansen was
it's
found
2026.
guilty
So
of
they
murdering
made a new
Dee.
update.
The judge
So
called
it's the
Rowan's attack
26.
frenzied and brutal,
The first
and
update is
cruel
on
and
26.
inexplicable. He told the court that Dee had done nothing to provoke her death. She was simply
Wait,
smaller,
really?
weaker, and isolated. In short, it was the ultimate nightmare for a victim of domestic violence. Throughout the trial,
I haven't
and
looked
even
at
in his
iOS
verdict,
at all.
the judge
I just
acknowledged
know
that
iOS
Rowan
is
had
annoying.
endured a very traumatic childhood, which was marked by violence, physical abuse, and addiction. But while
I
that
hate
history
iOS.
might
I love
explain
Android
his
way
anger,
more.
it can never
Android is
excuse
goated.
it. It is worth highlighting,
I have an
though, as
iPhone
bad
and an
childhood
Android
does seem to
phone.
be a frequent
I
correlation
love
with
my
videos.
Android phone way
Eventually,
more.
Rowan was sentenced to 28 years in prison with a non-parole period of 17 years. It means that he won't be eligible for release until September of 2042, which by then he'll be in his late 50s. Outside of the courtroom, Dee's family tried to speak through tears. They described her as beautiful, caring, and full of life, and they still miss her every day. Even with the verdict delivered, some questions about that night in Bulga Forest still remain unanswered. For example, what truly sparked the violence?
Well, like, how
Was
much
it
is in my
jealousy,
Slayer stack right now, bro?
drunken
Let me
rage,
pull up.
or something more trivial?
Okay, not
Rowan
bad, not bad,
has
not
never
bad.
given a clear explanation for why he lost control. And being honest, I don't think he ever will. In the end, the witch's hut seems to be keeping its secret. We know the outline of what happened, but we don't quite know the intricate details. All we know is that this
1.7
was a
billion actually
violent
though.
man who killed the woman that he claimed to have loved. But the reasons why he murdered Dee seemed to be buried in Rowan's mind, and the grim nickname that they had given this cabin turned out to be chillingly suitable. Whatever happened in there, it seems that something dark was conjured within the witch's hut. Not by magic, but by the all-too-human emotion of rage.
Wait, what? How?
This story honestly gave me the chills, not just for the brutality of what happened inside that cabin, but how quickly his love turned to something more terrifying. And those are the stories of Andrew James McGann.
Wait, do
and
I
Rowan
need
James
more
Hansen.
Inferno
But I still
minions?
find it really weird that they share the
Do I
same
need to
middle
run
name.
more
You
Inferno
know,
minions?
there is something beautiful about forests. However, they seem to hold both
Oh.
beauty and terror all the same. So the next time you go out venturing, make sure to keep yourself safe. But yeah, what are your thoughts about this case? To begin with, what do you think really happened in that cabin?
Do I
And
actually
do
need
you
more
think that
Inferno minions? I
James
don't
will be
know.
found guilty? Do you think he deserves the death penalty? Let me know in the
I
comments
might
down
actually
below.
go.
Thanks
Alright, see
again
you,
to
man.
ZocDoc for sponsoring this video.
Enjoy
Head to
studying at fucking Sunday or
ZocDoc.com/copyhousecrime to book an
Saturday, the fuck?
in-network top-rated doctor today.
The fuck?
And on that note, I'm done here today, folks. So I'll see you again very soon for another video. If you haven't checked out the Copyhouse Crime podcast yet, then please have a look on Spotify. Otherwise, I'd really appreciate a like on this video, and if you can, subscribe too. As always, folks, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you again next week, same time. Until that moment arrives, though, remember to look after yourselves and each other. Oh, and stay safe and stay curious. Thank you, and goodbye.
Goodbye. Give me some loot, bro.
Welcome to Coffee House Crime, folks.
Thanks.
My name is Adrian, and this video
Hey,
is
Adrian.
wondering if you really are safe in your own home. You know,
Hey, Adrian.
there is a lot to be said about home. It's a place
Hey,
you can retreat to,
Adrian.
put your feet up, avoid all forms of social contact,
Oh.
but most importantly, feel safe. So
Yeah.
when an intruder steps through that personal boundary, it's not only deeply violating, but greatly unexpected too. And
Yeah.
so, with that in mind, this story is right up there when it comes to cruel and mindless crime. And unfortunately, the entire thing could have been avoided with the simple click of a key. Before we begin, please consider subscribing for true crime,
really?
strange and chilling stories weekly. And now,
Single
with that
click of a
said,
key?
please grab yourself a coffee and let's caffeinate
What?
while we investigate. This is the case of Amanda Blackburn.
Yeah. Put me on game here, bro. What's happening?
Our story today takes us to the heart of Indianapolis, a city steeped in community values
Blackburn, I
and
thought that was
small-town
UK maybe.
hospitality, where useful context,
Oh, it's
more
not.
than 83% of its residents identify as Christian. Known as the crossroads of America, many roads from Michigan, Illinois, Kentucky, and Ohio all lead into the state of Indiana and directly into this bustling city. So you can probably guess that Indianapolis is a place where many paths randomly cross, and that furthermore, people from all walks of life
Furthermore.
unexpectedly come together. However, for the main characters of our story today, I guarantee you that they wish this never happened. And so, enter 28-year-old Amanda and her husband, 30-year-old Davy Blackburn. Known as the community's loving pastor and his gentle wife, the two were a well-respected couple with the world at their feet. Some would even call them the perfect American family, and they were very excited about the future. Amanda and Davy had moved all the way from South Carolina with one objective in mind, and that was to spread the word of God. Between them, they owned the now abolished Resonant Church in the far north of Indianapolis City, and although it has since closed down, it was established in 2011 to spread the gospel's life-giving power. Now, usually you would assume that those who were looking to start their own church would normally be in the latter years of their lives, but not these two. Amanda and Davy were young, ambitious, and modern. Scaling all the way back to the year 2006, the two met in Pensacola Christian College in Florida, and what followed was a deep and fiery relationship. Beginning with Amanda, she was born in the summer of 1987 in Muscatine.
I'm actually kind of
Michigan.
curious
Her
about.
proud parents, Phil and Robin, were already highly religious
No,
people,
actually,
with her
though.
father being a pastor
Wait.
at their local church. The family then moved
Oh,
from Michigan
wait.
to Elkhart,
No,
Indiana,
wait,
alongside her sister
wait.
Amber and brother James in 1995. Amanda was known to be a kind and a caring child, and she was particularly close with her siblings. Growing into her teenage years, she became exceptionally hardworking and ambitious, throwing herself into her studies and, much to her parents' relief, her church too. She was always well behaved and never had any trouble at home
Okay.
or at school. She eventually graduated from the Elkhart
I'm kind of curious
Christian
about this
Academy
because
in the year 2006,
I don't have a
before then
pet to
bravely
level,
moving
really, do
away
I?
from her family to Florida. And of course, as we already know, this was where she would meet the man who would soon become her husband, and his name was Davy Blackburn. As for Davy, he was a beacon of kindness, humor, and charm, and although it's cliche
How did I
to
get
say,
a tarantula
was
back?
apparently always wearing a smile that could light up any room. As Amanda and Davy grew closer over the following months, they realized that their goals for the future were actually quite similar. While still studying at college, the two decided to move in together before then adopting a dog named Mel, and it is known that the two treated and adored her like their own child. Their photos from this time captures countless happy memories in each other's company, of course with their dog by their side.
Hey.
In fact, by August 2008, which was only 2 years after leaving college, the two decided that their love was so profound and certain that they got married, and this union would only strengthen their bond and bring them even closer. And then in 2011,
Yeah, I just
they
can't
decided
find
to
one.
move back to Indianapolis, driven by their shared dream of saving lives by spreading Christ's word. The move would also bring Amanda closer to her family, which did in fact prove to be beneficial, as in the year 2014, the two would welcome their first child to the world.
Here's my
a baby
comment
boy
XP, sir.
named Weston. As a family, they continued to grow. Davy's role as a pastor and their work in establishing a church brought them great fulfillment in life. Amanda stayed active by running many marathons with her siblings and her parents, while Davy maintained his physical and mental health through regular workouts at LA Fitness. Their social media was filled with photos that showcased happiness and the rich life that they led, surrounded by family, friends, a supportive community, and their budding church. And then, in 2015, their richness would deepen even further with the announcement of their second child. Amanda and Davy were simply overjoyed with the news, with Davy convinced that they were destined for a daughter, whom he lovingly named Evie Grace Blackburn. However, sadly, their envisioned future was not the one they would receive, and that's because in November of 2015, their world was shattered in the most unexpected and harrowing of circumstances.
Hey.
911 for case emergency. Yes, I'm at 2812 Sunnyfield Court, 46228. My wife has collapsed. She is... Okay, hold on. Stay on the line for EMS. Will I transfer you?
Fire and ambulance. What's the address of your emergency?
2812 Sunnyfield Court, 46228.
What?
2812 Sunnyfield Court.
Is that a house or an apartment?
It is a house.
And your phone number? And what's wrong there?
My wife, I just walked in the door coming back from the gym. She's collapsed. She's breathing right now, but there's blood all over the place coming out of her nose, it looks like. She's still breathing. I didn't want to turn her over.
The date was November the 10th, 2015, and just like any other workday, Davey woke up at around 6 a.m. to do his morning workout. Random side note here, but maybe this is living proof that God actually does exist, because no amount of caffeine could get me out that early. Finishing around 1 hour later, I returned to the property at around 7:30, before then taking a call in the driveway. You see, Davey was trying to be considerate here, and so rather than wake Amanda up, he took that phone call in the car. Now, usually this wouldn't be considered as suspicious, right? Well, unfortunately, he had no idea that this morning would be very different to the several hundred before. After finishing his phone call, Davey walked inside to a devastating scene. Amanda was lying on the floor in a pool of her own blood, and although she was still breathing, she was unresponsive. Fears for Weston's safety were quickly calmed as, thankfully, he was still upstairs, safe, alive, and well. As soon as he checked to make sure he was okay, Davey then called emergency services and begged them for come to help save Amanda's life. Paramedics arrived quickly at the scene, where they found Davey at the end of the home's driveway with his hands covered in blood. They determined that Amanda had been shot 3 times, once in the back, once in the arm, and a third in the back of her head. Miraculously, she was still breathing, but with her condition being critical, time was running out. She was therefore rushed to the hospital in a desperate attempt to save her life. But despite all the efforts made by the paramedics, both she and her unborn baby would pass away the following day, with Davey holding his wife's hand during her final moments before her heart stopped beating. This tragedy was unimaginably heart-wrenching for him, leaving him to mourn the loss of his wife and their future daughter on what had started as an ordinary November morning. Amidst all of this grief, 3 pressing questions would arise. How had this happened? Who was responsible, and why Amanda? It was obvious that Davey's wife had been murdered in cold blood, and someone, or at least one person, was accountable. But who, and why? It was now up to the authorities to answer those questions through their investigation, but they too would be left dumbfounded. The Blackburn family had no known enemies, debts, or even conflicts with the community. They lived a very peaceful and happy lifestyle, and were well loved by everyone around them. So, despite the investigation beginning, the question why was still on everybody's mind. Taking a look at the evidence would present several clues to the authorities. To begin with, it appeared that there was no forced break-in. Davey and Amanda had faith in their community and felt safe and trusting with their neighborhood. And so, as a result, they rarely ever locked their front door. And it turns out that, on the day that Amanda was murdered, the morning was no different, therefore allowing her killers to walk in without any contest or conflict. The home itself was usually very tidy, but the crime scene was vastly different. Detectives observed large blood spatters alongside remnants of brain matter around 5 feet from the body. Meanwhile, Amanda was lying face down and devoid of clothes. Found next to her was her underwear and a scattered mess of mail and bank cards. Notably, not all of them were accounted for. A pack of Swisher cigars, a pair of earphones, and a roll of duct tape were all found on the counter. Davey confirmed that these items did not belong to him or his wife, And as for Amanda's cell phone, well, that was discovered untouched in her bedroom, which thankfully their dog Mel was found trapped but safe and alive. There was one other piece of evidence too. Amanda's phone showed a missed call from Chase Bank at 7:53 that morning, which detectives would soon discover turned out to be an inquiry about suspicious activity on her account. The entire situation suggested a tragedy marked by killers, a home invasion gone wrong. However, with the evidence and clues left behind so obvious, some started to wonder if maybe this was a setup. Some people would even highlight how convenient it seemed that Davy was out of the property at the precise time that Amanda was murdered. I mean, surely this was more than just a coincidence, right? Well, actually, not really, because Davy's schedule was very predictable. Furthermore, if her killers knew that he'd be out for at least an hour, then they may also know that he would leave the front door wide open. Davy also had not one, but several confirmed alibis at the gym. And as for the couple's love life, well, they were absolutely smitten with each other, with a second baby on the way. However, alibis and information aside, this wouldn't stop some people from coming to their own conclusions. Unfortunately, pastors have had a bad rap in the recent decade, and we've seen many go down for scandals, abuse, and even murder. Think of John White, Timothy Tillman, or even Helga Fossmo, which we've covered here on Coffeehouse Crime. So, at least initially, people did seem to be quite skeptical of Davy. In fact, I've just read about the investigation of a Texas megachurch that had to remove 4 leaders who all knew of a pastor's alleged abuse and even murder. Honestly, it is crazy how often these scandals simply fly under the radar. But with so many external sources influencing our mainstream media, it is no wonder why. And that's why I've been using today's sponsor, Straight Arrow News, to keep up to date, as they are my choice for unbiased news. I believe the values are great because they report right down the middle with facts for both sides. No bias, no filter, and no spin. And with their media mist tool, you can even discover stories being underreported or even ignored from the left and the right. Go to san.com/coffeehousecrime to check it out. You can visit the link through my description. When you visit, you are not only supporting me, but a group of journalists who are raising the bar on the news and focusing on serving you the truth. That's san.com/coffeehousecrime. Thank you, Straight Arrow News, for supporting us content creators. Now let's get straight back to this case. Following Amanda's tragic murder, Davy launched a campaign to draw attention to her case. He did this by turning to social media, engaging with local news outlets, participating in numerous interviews, and doing everything in his power to spread the news.
I think I've heard this disgusting guy before.
A lead that might help identify her killer. However, this activity would also, unfortunately, spur the online amateur sleuths into a frenzy. And some of them would even begin to suspect that Davy himself was responsible for Amanda's death, interpreting his helpful actions as maybe just a way to try and cover up his own tracks. They questioned his lack of visible grief during interviews, wondered why he barely cried, interrogated the 12-minute delay before he called emergency services, and even asked why he would swiftly turn to social media to cope. Despite the barrage of online accusations, Davy's close friends and family would rally around him, trying to shield him from the hatred he found online. Yet, as is human nature, Davy, of course, could not help but be affected by the public's opinion. Meanwhile, the authorities cleared Davy of any suspicion whatsoever, and instead focused their efforts on unraveling the events of that fateful morning. Now, there is quite a lot of debate around Davy, which we will come back to later in this video, but for all intents and purposes, the detectives were confident that he had nothing to do with her murder. They leaned towards the theory of a home invasion gone wrong, and in their investigation, they noted that the Blackburn home was not the only target of that morning. In fact, it was only one of 3 homes in the neighborhood to be burgled. In addition to this, several others were affected earlier that month, and this pattern of crime lent credence to their belief that Amanda's murder was part of a larger wave of break-ins. Not only that, but one of those invasions, which occurred only 1 week prior, involved a masked man breaking in while the homeowner was in the shower. After breaking in, he then ushered her out at gunpoint before then sexually assaulting her. And as grim as that story may be, it did at least show that it seemed to follow the similar motives of both thievery and sex. High-value items such as jewelry, purses, cell phones, and laptops were stolen in all 3 incidents. However, spare a credit card and a MacBook, almost nothing appeared to be taken at the Blackburn residence,
Hmm.
therefore leading the authorities to believe that the intruders were likely interrupted. Naturally, the neighborhood was shaken to its core by Amanda's tragic death. In an act of
Makes sense.
solidarity, the neighbors collectively handed over all of their home surveillance footage to help the investigating officers. And what do you know? This footage proved to be a crucial asset. To begin with,
How
one
come?
neighbor recounted hearing what she believed to be 2 gunshots at around 6:30 that morning, though at the time she dismissed them. As the investigation deepened, more neighbors would come forward with chilling testimonies. Several reported seeing a shadowy figure cloaked in black and with his hood drawn tight, suspiciously talking on the phone at around 7 AM, before then slipping into a silver Chrysler Sebring. And after looking at the local surveillance footage, well, none of them were lying. A surveillance camera captured the unsettling image of a masked man lurking in the shadows before then hopping into a vehicle. And this vehicle, which would be the Chrysler, would be one of the most instrumental pieces of evidence to this case. And that's because it was not actually theirs in the first place, but stolen only a couple of hours prior. At 5:23 that very same morning, a call was made to the Indianapolis police to report that a car had been stolen. And although the owner never saw the perpetrator, she did wake up to find her porch door had been left open and that her cell phone, laptop, purse and car keys were all missing. And of course, her 2007 Chrysler Sebring was not in the spot she had left it. Now, thankfully, her surveillance camera did manage to catch them in the process. And from these images, it is assumed that 3 men were involved with the break-in. And given the timeline, they most likely traveled straight to Davies and Amanda's home after stealing her vehicle. The terrible thing is that these men cared so little about Amanda being fatally shot that they then carried on with their third heist afterwards. And we know this to be true because only 1 hour later, another phone call was made to 911 reporting yet another burglary, with surveillance cameras in the area capturing the same 3 people. Now, I think we have all been in a situation before where we're doing something that's a little bit stupid or reckless. At least I know I have. But usually, if I hurt myself or have an accident, I then stop and think about what I'm doing. But not these guys. Despite literally murdering someone after a botched robbery, they then decided to go on with their little escapade. To add to that, they didn't seem to be in much of a hurry either, because with the homeowners currently out, they decided to help themselves to an array of belongings. This included 4 televisions, a universal remote, a MacBook Pro, a Tiffany pearl necklace, an expensive sweater, some bed sheets, and even a bag of oranges. In addition to a rather healthy portion of vitamin C, our 3 musketeers decided to then put their feet up and help themselves to several bottles of wine. Not quite the nutritious choice, especially at 8 AM. They would even leave these bottles behind, which was great for officers by the way. It made collecting their DNA very easy. However, the most concrete piece of evidence in this investigation was, of course, the stolen car. And although the license plate had been removed as soon as they stole the vehicle, the authorities still had the make, model, and color. This made it quite easy for officers to find it. In fact, it was so easy that they discovered the vehicle only 1 day later. And that's because whoever decided to dump the vehicle only did so several minutes away from the crime scene. Inside the vehicle, investigators discovered an assortment of items, including an extra large men's sweater, a bag of oranges, a universal remote, a pink men's shirt, and an ATM receipt that indicated a failed payment to withdraw $500 from Amanda's now missing debit card. The ATM receipt was then traced back to a gas station which was near Amanda's and Davies' home. Police officers realized that, while one of the men had tried to conceal his identity by wrapping the pink shirt around his face, he had also failed to remember to take that shirt with him when he abandoned the car. And, of course, such a stupid move would leave behind an easy trace of DNA on the shirt. DNA that would ultimately come back with a key link in solving this case. And that's because the DNA matched to 21-year-old Jalen E. Watson, a man who had recently been released on parole for, surprise surprise, burglary. While analyzing his profile, officers discovered that Watson's previous crimes were in fact connected with an accomplice named Deano Gordon. It turns out that both men were being monitored during their parole, which included tracking of their cell phone activity. And after some rather careful triangulation, they realized that this monitoring confirmed that both men were at all 3 locations of the burglaries that morning, with the ATM machine included. Further investigations showed that Watson and Gordon made several phone calls that morning, which included a third individual, that being 18-year-old Larry Joe Taylor Jr. And just like that, the authorities finally had her 3 guys. After triangulating their cell phone numbers, investigators realized that all 3 suspects had been together the night prior. And after visiting their landlord, she was able to confirm that they had left together at approximately 3:30 that morning, taking her boyfriend's handgun and a shirt with them in the process. Both of these items would positively match the evidence recovered from the crime scene, with the gun even matching a second murder committed earlier that month. And so, only 11 days after Amanda's death, Larry Joe Taylor was arrested on suspicion of murder, theft, and breaking and entering. And by December, both Jalen and Diano followed. Perhaps one of my favorite patterns here, but when multiple parties are arrested, it is relatively common for them to turn on each other in the process. And, of course, this would happen between these 3 suspects. It's kind of like watching an argument happen between 3 clowns at the circus. But instead of a pie on the face, the argument is served with lifetime punishments. Diano was the first one to cave in, accepting a plea deal in exchange for throwing his friends under the bus. According to him, all 3 had agreed to rob multiple homes that morning. However, it was Larry who suggested they bring a gun. After breaking and entering, Larry would then enter the victim's bedroom while they slept. This was probably more for the adrenaline kick than anything else, and, well, he was safe with that firearm in his hand. But unfortunately, this would not work with Amanda, and in response, the crime changed from robbery to a hostage situation. Armed with a handgun, Larry held Amanda hostage while the other 2 then drove to an ATM machine with her credit card. Phone records would show that they kept in contact through multiple phone calls over this time frame. And when her PIN failed, Larry realized that Amanda was not prepared to part with her money. That is when he hung up the phone and then forced himself upon her. Amidst the struggle, he then shot her 3 times, with Amanda collapsing in the process. After that, he then phoned his friends to pick him up, which further explains the surveillance footage capturing him getting into the Chrysler. Diano would also tell the investigators that Larry seemed to be proud of his actions, and had even stood over her while he watched her bleed out. Unfazed by the events, he then told them to focus and prepare for their 3rd and final home. In light of the news, Larry's charges were therefore upgraded to 1 count of burglary, robbery resulting in serious bodily harm, criminal confinement, auto theft, carrying a gun without a license, and 2 counts of felony murder. For reasons that will soon become important to the story, it is worth noting here that his 2 murder charges were focused on Amanda and the man he had allegedly murdered earlier in the same year, but not Amanda's baby. Diano held up his plea deal against Larry, and Jalen was close to follow behind. And so, ultimately, with both men now against him, Larry was sure to lose his trial eventually. I say eventually because, rather frustratingly, there would be 2 mistrials before any deliberation took place, and this was due to technicalities around Amanda's pregnancy. You see, with there being no murder charges related to Amanda's baby, the judge declared that no mention of her pregnancy was allowed during his trial. But with several members of the jury declaring their own acknowledgement of her pregnancy, it meant that, sadly, the trial could not proceed. As a result, Larry agreed to a bench trial, which meant that no jury was needed and only the judge would determine his fate. Which he is probably regretting now, because that judge would go down on him like a sack of potatoes. Ultimately, Larry Taylor was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to 86 years behind bars, meaning that he will never walk as a free man again. The trials of Diano Gordon and Jalen Watson occurred earlier in March of 2021, and with their plea deals in place, they were charged with 2 counts of burglary and a charge of robbery resulting in serious bodily harm, with 5 other charges against the men dropped as a